A source at the KNBS said the firms have been omitting some regular perks while reporting the workers' payroll, prompting the revision of the salaries data.
Okay.
The revision has seen those earning over 100,000 monthly jump from 79,909 captured in 2020 to 310,884. Outing over 230,000 earners whose firms have been under-declaring their salaries.
Okay. Under-declaring their salaries in an attempt to then obviously pay less or no taxes.
What I think employers, this discussion has to be, one has to talk more about it, because I don't think these things are very rarely cut and dry as they're reported. Yes. Because the implication is that they are not paying their taxes. Okay, that's the implication. Now, what I'd like to know is how exactly they arrived at this decision and what is being presented as money earned. Is it really earned? And if it's in the form of benefits, what are the taxes that ought to be paid? What this report has raised in my mind is questions. Yes.
Questions as per what is going on. That's
okay. What on earth is going on?
Yeah.
And how did you miss this thing in the first place? And did you really miss it? I mean, all these are questions that are going on in my mind. Yes.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. All right. The Cherera 4, really quickly, in about 30 seconds, the Cherera 4 will know their fate today. And guess whose hands it lies in? It lands in the highs. It lands in the highs. It
in
lies
the high hands of the president.
Thank you very much. It lies in the hands of the president. So he will decide, will they be removed or will they continue in their positions until their tenure comes to an end? It'll be very interesting to see what his decision on that will be. Okay. So I guess we will hear that communication will come to us and we'll know, are they there or are they not? It's coming around to 7 o'clock. Kenya's biggest conversation enters into its second hour right after the news. And we will be having a conversation about the 12th edition of the Kalasha Film Awards with the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission. And he will be with us at 7. Timothy Odhiambo Owase joins us after 7, and we'll be looking at that in the next hour. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Ndoko and CT Muga with you, and it's Black November into December, the month of discounts. More in a bit.
Spice up your life.
The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. KCSE candidates today start writing the exams. The TSC CEO Nancy Bashari expected in Nyeri to preside over the opening of the containers with examination papers. Her counterpart from NEC, David Nyeri, will be in Wajir and Wandera counties, while KICD boss Charles Ocheng Ongondo is scheduled to lead the activity in Vega County. You continue to follow up on these developing stories. Be sure that Newswire will be bringing you the very latest in our subsequent news bulletin. Now, children who just completed the KPSEA Grade 6 exam will be domiciled in the existing primary schools. The government has directed that the junior secondary schools, that is Grade 7, 8 and 9 transition, will be guided by the Ministry of Education. However, students have expressed mixed reactions of the decision.
Tunatarajia kwenda junior secondary, hatutaki kubaki hapa. Tungependa waziri wa elimu askati tuende junior secondary kwa sababu tumejipanga jinsi ilivyo kwenda junior secondary. Tukisalia mahali hapa tunajihisi vibaya kwa sababu tulichagua mashule, sasa tena tukisema tubaki hapa itakuwa vibaya na tulichagua mashule za.
Nasema kwani serikali wako wamejipanga ili kuleta hiyo mtaalamu, ndio wakaamua kusema tena tutabaki tutaenda. Tunashangaa, tulikuwa tumeshachagua hata mashule, waturuhusu tuende junior secondary.
The government further states that KPSEA won't be used to place learners in junior secondary schools, but instead monitor their learning progress and provide feedback to education sector players on areas that require intervention. The government has also given a go-ahead to the Teacher Service Commission to recruit an additional 30,000 teachers by January next year who will facilitate the primary to secondary school transition. Now, 4 embattled IEBC commissioners are on their way out of office after the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee recommended to the House to approve the formation of a tribunal to investigate their conduct. The committee's chair, George Murugara, said all the 4 petitions had enough grounds to warrant the formation of a tribunal to investigate the commissioners.
That His Excellency the President appoints a tribunal to deal with the matters in accordance with Article 251(5) of the Constitution, and that His Excellency the President suspends the commissioners herein pending the determination by the tribunal.
With the removal of the 4 from the country risks being without an electoral commission as the term of the other 3, that is, commissioners, chairperson Ufole Chebukati, Abdigalie and Boyamolus, is ending on January 18th.
The petition by the Republican Liberty Party discloses serious violations of the Constitution or other laws as a ground for removal of Ms. Juliana Woge Cherera, Ms. Irene Cherop Maset, Mr. Francis Mathenge Wanderi, and Mr. Justus Abonyo Nyangaya as commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
Now, millions of Kenyans who depend on the National Government Constituency Development Fund can now breathe a sigh of relief after Treasury finally agreed to release the funds. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula says the Treasury, after receiving advance from the Attorney General, will be releasing 2 billion shillings weekly from Friday next week. According to the advice from the AG, the Supreme Court hasn't pronounced itself on the NGCDF Act of 2015 as the matter is still before the court under litigation.
In light of the advice from the Attorney General, the National Treasury and Economic Planning confirms that it will commence disbursement to the NGCDF by tranches of 2 billion on a weekly basis with effect from 9th December 2022, and will have disbursed a total of 44.289 billion by the 23rd week of disbursement.
And a man who threw his girlfriend from the 12th floor to the 9th floor after meeting on Facebook has been sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. Milimani Principal Magistrate Esther Kimilu convicted Moses Njoroge after the court found him guilty of causing grievous bodily harm to the woman. The court did not give an option of a fine as it ruled that the victim is still undergoing treatment 2 years since the incident occurred. She said she'd consider the accused person was committed to rehabilitation due to alcoholism and anger issues. Njoroge was charged with causing grievous bodily harm to his girlfriend on September 20th. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Traffic on Vibes Radio.
The Spice Newswire is brought to you by Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Go ahead and get yours today. It's your time.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
All right, so what are we looking at in most parts of the city this morning? We're still looking at a heavy coming off of the thicker superhighway. Looks like it's going to be like that for some time. That started slow this morning, but it shouldn't get much crazier. So also looking at traffic coming out of Westlands, that started early as well. Jogger Road is looking like it will build up into quite something as we're getting past 7 o'clock. And there was traffic on Mombasa Road that started early as well. So everything started early, but it looks like it's going to tip in our favor and that we shouldn't have too much in terms of traffic. There's going to be a lot of outward bound traffic. We can already see the trends on the thicker superhighway as well as leaving Westlands. It is, after all, the weekend. All right, let's keep an eye on things, folks. What's happening where you are this morning? Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter, all in an attempt to keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 7 on the 2nd of December 2022, day after World AIDS Day, a day after the Hustler Fund was released, and quite a number of people still reeling from that. Kenya's biggest conversation is into its second hour this morning. Ndu Oko and CT Muga with you this morning. Our guest is already in the studio, so we'll introduce him in a minute. It's been a year today, probably, since the last time we had a conversation like this, and it'll be interesting to see where we are after a year, but I'll tell you about that in a short while. As we get into the second hour, let's hear today's proverb.
From the country of Guinea. We like to emphasize to our listeners that it isn't the country of Guinea-Bissau, it isn't Equatorial Guinea, it isn't Papua New Guinea, it is just Guinea. Okay. Right, this is our final proverb from that delightful country that borders 5 other countries and the Atlantic Ocean. The bitter heart eats its owner. You own a bitter heart, it will eat you.
It will eat you. If you own a bitter heart, it will eat you.
Yes, if you own it, then you can't be the owner if you don't own it. Yeah, so if you own it, it will eat you.
Yeah. So don't be bitter if you don't want to be eaten.
Or if you like being eaten, please continue being bitter.
Indeed. Okay, I can hear you, and I heard it, and I hear things on my Samsung Buds 2 Pro. And the whole experience is really then clearly fantastic. And again, somebody has done the thing. Because they know that the listening experience on Samsung, on those Samsung Buds, is so fantastic, they've decided to, borrow them for the day. Hopefully they'll be back. But Samsung doing some fantastic things when it comes to technology. The listening experience on those Buds is something else. You can be listening to your music and be immersed. You can actually be in the production of that music because of how encapsulating that sound is. Samsung Buds 2 Pro. Fantastic. Our guest for this hour is seated here with us, and we'll say good morning, first of all. Timothy Owase is the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission. Good morning, Timothy.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
I can hear you. I'm glad that you're with us. It's been a year since we were here.
We were here in March during the Kalasha market.
Yes.
And before then, I was here during the Kalasha Awards last December.
Exactly.
And this is December.
This is December.
Indeed.
So now when I say you're back after a year, it's on this what we were talking about last year when we talked about these awards, and we're talking about the fantastic opportunities that are there for Kenyans and others around the world to see some of Kenya's fantastic content and to take Kenya's content, onto a global scale.
Indeed.
So another December rolls around. And here we are again with the 12th edition of the awards. And just off the bat, if you can remind us exactly what these awards are about and why we do them yearly.
It's a season for us to celebrate excellence within our film and television industries. And that's why Kenya Film Commission came up with the Kalasha International Film and TV Awards. So tomorrow, the 3rd of December, Kenyans will be celebrating the 12th edition of Kalasha International Film and Television Awards, where we will award 39 different categories in various sections within the value chain. The objective of the commission hosting the awards is basically to appreciate and celebrate the winners and also the practitioners within the industry. We know the global demand for content has driven a lot of production across the globe, and Kenya is poised to be one of those countries that will play a host to productions and to give us room for job creation, among others. So tomorrow, as we celebrate, not only are we just awarding the winners, but we're also reminding ourselves that we have an opportunity to utilize the screen sector as a critical economic earner for this country. So the Commission is committed to this, and it's driving this agenda with the clarity that it deserves, and also with the clear view that we can be able to achieve much in our country as far as opportunities that are present within this sector are concerned. Yes.
When you say that a demand, I'm paraphrasing what you said, the demand has risen and for content, and the demand is being met, or at least there's an attempt to meet the demand. How do you measure demand? How do you determine that the demand has gone up? What are the indicators?
Consumer demand for content has grown.
How do you measure that? That's what I'm asking.
Actually, how we get to know that the demand is high is the demand by the key channels. For example, the OTT platforms like Netflix are now looking for varied content coming from different continents. 5 years ago, actually the time I was here last,
which was a year ago,
Kenya didn't have even 2 products on Netflix. But as we speak now, we have over 10 products on Netflix, and the demand is growing. In addition to that, there is a huge demand for localization, which means you can have a Kenyan product consumed in China and localized to the Chinese language. And that's an opportunity for us.
Let's take a look at the mandate of the Kenya Film Commission. So what are the rules? What is the mandate?
Great.
Before we get to, celebrating folks tomorrow, what have you then put in place to make sure things run and operate? What is your mandate as the KFC?
The commission was established to create a vibrant local film industry in Kenya, and also to market Kenya as a filming destination. To be very specific, we have about 11 mandates. 1, to build capacity in terms of skills. We develop and promote a screening culture in the country through audience development, undertake research so that we are able to provide information as far as the performance of the local film industry is concerned. We also offer facilitation through liaison services to the film industry, and we also advise government on matters, funding and film incentives. Other than that, the Commission has a role to establish a repository for Kenya's film products, among others. So we undertake this, and out of these specific mandates, we have come up with specific programs which we undertake on day to day to see to it that we are able to achieve the mandate as bestowed to Kenya Film Commission by Kenyans. Yes.
So there are standards that you set. There are rules that filmmakers in Kenya have to follow. What are some of those?
Okay, Kenya Film Commission is a developer. By that, we are actually all about creating an enabling environment for Kenyan film industry to thrive. So we facilitate and advise the industry on what is expected of them. Other than that, we also ensure that we are building capacity to accommodate the requirements of either local or international producers who are coming in to produce content here. In addition to that, we promote investment into the sector. We would like to see more studios being established. Other than that, creating more experts within the industry so that we are able to produce high quality products in terms of film. In addition to this, we have a mandate to accredit and certify filmmakers. That is a mandate that is close to your question as to whether we set standards. We would like to be able to accredit filmmakers on an annual basis so that we are able to allow them to come out as professionals. For a very long time, these sectors, professionals or practitioners, have not been classified as key professionals because they've not had an identity that will be able, just like journalists. Journalists are always accredited by the Media Council.
Yes.
But filmmakers don't have an accrediting body, and that's why the Commission was given this mandate. So in the very near future, the Commission is going to be issuing accreditation cards for all filmmakers in the country.
Okay. And then even as you look at it, I mean, with journalists, as we get accredited by the Media Council, there are certain things then that you have to, tick off to say that, do you have this 1, 2, 3 before then you get your accreditation?
Indeed.
What would that be then for filmmakers?
We are coming up with the guidelines the code of regulation that all filmmakers will have to adhere to. And when we have that, through public participation, we should be able to gazette the same and have the same applied. But the key intention is to organize the industry, have the film sector in the country as an industry that is well appreciated and well coordinated through formations of film associations and guilds. And through this, we'll be able to accredit filmmakers in their specific roles within the film value chain.
Right.
If you're a director, we should be able to recognize you as a film director. If you're a producer, the same way, an actor, a set designer, an editor, and so on and so forth.
So everybody across those genres within the film basket essentially would be able to get accreditation.
Correct.
Is the accreditation domiciled in Kenya, but then does the accreditation then allow you then to operate in different parts of the world?
Of course, it recognizes that you are a professional within the industry. So anyone who is hiring you, whether locally or internationally, will have a basis as to who you are and what are you capable of doing. This will also complement our creative database, which we have come up with to provide an array of accessibility by all who want to access skills in this country. For example, if one wants to get a producer, they just need to go to Kenya Film Commission website, directory, and find how many producers can I be able to access in Kenya, and can they be able to offer services in a different country or within the country. So as one way of identifying skills so that we can be able to put them in use.
That's interesting that you say that, to have a database where people can go to. Because up until now, it's really been, if I've worked on a TVC, if I've worked on something as a producer, I would just get selected later to work on another project by virtue of the fact that maybe the director or the associate director knew me. So then I can get another job. But now if you have a database, that it just allows...
We want that to be very professional. You should not be able to get hired because you know somebody.
Which is how the film industry has run.
It should be based on your skills, your professional being, and your capabilities. And that's why the creative database is so critical. Yes.
Where do independent filmmakers now fall here? That could be of Kenyan origin.
Even independent filmmakers will have an opportunity to be accredited. Yeah, but we encourage all filmmakers to be affiliated to either Film Federation, because within the draft film policy that has been developed, we are proposing to have a National Film Federation, which will be an umbrella body for all practitioners within the industry.
The thing that I find interesting is, as you speak, I get the impression that this particular industry, this creative industry, seems to have a renaissance. It's like it's a rebirth. It's suddenly blossoming, and it's entered what we may refer to as mainstream business, mainstream activities. I say this because in a time gone by, it wasn't that.
Correct.
Now, two things: potential and what its current status. In terms of employment, what would you say are the numbers regarding the people who are employed in this industry and the potential employment capacity that this industry actually has?
Actually, that's a very good question. The industry is blossoming at the moment, and there are three things that we are focusing on to ensure that we attain the real potential of this sector. One is policy, legislation, and strategy. When we address those three, then we'll be able to attain maximum return as far as our potential is concerned. It is estimated that this sector is capable of contributing about 200 billion shillings to our economy annually if we actually operate at an optimum capacity. About employment, in the year 2019, the studies or the research undertaken by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics estimated that as of 2019, we had direct jobs of 130, and with a contribution of about 3 billion shillings. But that is just an understatement because we are yet to get
130 as in 130 or 130,000?
130,000.
Oh,
130,000.
130.
Yeah, direct jobs. But remember, when we talk about the employment within the film sector, there are those direct benefits, the indirect benefits, and the induced ones. So these were direct jobs that the industry was able to apply as at that time. And this doesn't count those people who are employed in the hospitality industry based on the production of various films, transport, legal, among others. So the potential is huge. We are able to create an annual inflow of jobs of over 240,000. Other than that, as far as economic contribution, I can also confirm that the potential is so huge.
Yeah.
This sector is capable of contributing to our economy to a high of 200 billion shillings, if optimally applied. Yes.
You also fund filmmakers, as the Kenya Film Commission, funding filmmakers, giving them partial or, quite significant amounts in terms of projects that they're working on. Tell us a little bit about that, because it segues into...
It's within our mandate to establish a film fund. But for a very long time, because of the legal issues, we've not been able to establish a film fund for the country, which we are working on. But prior to that, we have come up with a program. We call it the Empowerment Program. This is a funding program that Kenya Film Commission established in 2020 in the mid of COVID. And the intention was to provide funding to filmmakers so that we are able to facilitate to a level. Of course, the kind of funding that we offer the industry may not be sufficient. We encourage filmmakers to get seed funding from other sources. It could be from banks or financial institutions, crowdfunding, friends and family. Then the commission complements whatever filmmakers have. So far we have disbursed about 70 million shillings in form of grants to enable filmmakers tell stories. Yes.
And what has been the impact? I mean, because yes, it's fun. When we think of film, I think our minds go automatically to entertainment. And so is there some kind of social impact that's tied from this grant making to the filmmaker to say that this is the social impact that we hope would be had? And does KFC then play a role in making sure that that social impact is realized?
Yes, well, when you talk about filmmaking, the social impact can be measured in many ways. One, film plays a critical role of integrating and cohesing the country. When we look at our country as it is, we have over 44 tribes, but film doesn't know any boundaries. So you can be able to tell your story in whichever language and it will be understood. And that's where localization comes in. We are also promoting a screening culture in this country. The intention is we would like Kenyans to be able to appreciate each other by watching their own stories. The other component is job creation. This sector provides an array of opportunities for job creation as compared to any other. It provides jobs of now and jobs of the future, jobs that no one can be able to displace. And that's why highly skilled manpower are found within this particular sector out of innovation and technological advancements. So the sector provides a huge opportunity to government and to Kenyans to be able to advance the same in terms of job creation, employment, branding our country. Other than that, cultural diversity can be promoted through this particular storytelling component, and also the need for us to mainstream the sector through our education system.
Right.
Yes.
Now, the filmmaking, entertainment.
Yes.
Is your board the institution or the entity that is charged with determining the usability, the suitability of these movies for age groups?
Kenya Film Commission promotes productions in the country.
That's it.
But there is an institution called Kenya Film Classification Board that plays a role of classifying movies we promote development of productions.
That's all you do.
After we've done this, there is a different entity that ensures that the country is advised that this film is suitable for age X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
There's a question I've always wanted to ask. Please allow me. I'm going to ask it.
Please do.
So these guys just watch movies the whole day, because surely.
Not necessarily.
How on earth do you classify it unless you watch it?
Yes, they have mechanisms on how to watch. That's why, as a producer,
Wait a moment.
I have
mechanisms of how to watch. They don't use their eyes for watching. What?
They watch. Of course, they use their eyes to watch, but the main essence of them watching is so that they can be able to advise all other audiences that this film is not suitable for your children under this particular age.
Do we must invite these people here? And I really want to understand how this classification is done.
It's a global thing, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why through technology, there is more of promoting self-regulation, especially from the production side. Where I sit, I encourage my producers to study the classification mechanism so that when they are producing films, they are able to actually classify their films by themselves at the production level.
Okay.
Right.
You say it's a global thing. Can I ask the question, or are we going to a break?
You can ask it. Go and ask it.
Do we consider the limitations and the promotions of our cultural norms and expectations when we set these standards? Because if I look at what you call international classifications, I have watched movies that are classified as 13 and below, and it has serious adult content, in my opinion. Perhaps it's my cultural understanding of it. I have watched animations which are meant for general consumption, and the level of violence is extreme. So I'm simply saying...
I think that's why Kenya Film Classification Board is there, to actually address that particular problem that you have experienced.
How do you address it?
There are regulations, and that's why we've had KFCB banning movies in this country, because they are violating our norms, our constitutional provisions, and so on, of which I personally support that we have to preserve our cultural norms. Yes. Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break in a bit and take a look at weather and traffic. But I mean, just looking at the professionalization of filmmaking and production in this country, we're talking about education, and then being able to then grant to filmmakers an opportunity for seed funding they would not ordinarily get somewhere else.
Yes.
Leading to then their recognition, which is all culminating, in tomorrow's event. Looking at more details of that when we come back out of this break, because it's important to know. Before, like we say, it's just kind of been like, we pull things out of wherever they can be pulled, and let's make a film and let's see where it will get. But if we add some attention to it, and I'm getting the understanding that is what you have been doing as KFC.
Right.
That's what you've been doing as KFC, to then say, look, let's professionalize this. Correct. And let's now be able to present it locally and globally in a manner in which it makes sense. The conversation continues in a minute, but I want to tell you what Kiwi's doing, Step Up and Shine, and what you can do as we are on holiday. Indeed, for schools now. But remember, you shine your shoes. It doesn't matter where you go. You're still shining. Get yourself one tin of Kiwi black shoe polish, and you can get airtime or data. School fees of up to 35,000 shillings will be awarded and paid directly to school for you. All you need to do is dial *459# and enter the code under the lid, and it could be you who would win school fees in the 96 days of January that is coming up. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues after this break.
Enjoy Black November with Cold Stone Creamery Kenya. Get 2 Gotta Have It cups and 2 cake slices at only 1,500 Kenya shillings, and other amazing deals for you and your friends this November. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and enjoy creamy, smooth ice cream and deliciously crafted ice cream cakes. Ice cream is always a great idea.
Meet the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 series with the new Epic standard for tablets. The Galaxy Tab S8, S8 Plus, and S8 Ultra come with the brand new S8 Pen, so you can power your creativity and take your productivity to the next level. Featuring the fastest chip ever on a Samsung Galaxy tablet, you can be sure of lightning fast speeds when you play or work. Connect your Tab S8 to your other Galaxy devices for a seamless, continuous experience. Available in select Samsung stores countrywide. It's a magical Christmas at Westgate Shopping Mall. Spend 1,000 Kenya shillings and above and stand to win an all-inclusive Mediterranean cruise to the most beautiful cities in Europe. Visit Rome, Venice, Barcelona, and get to bring someone with you. You also have the chance to win once-in-a-lifetime balloon safari over the Masai Mara and a luxury stay at Marangecha Camp, and the opportunity to win 500,000.
17 degrees and light rain in Nairobi. In some parts, highs of 25 and lows of 16. It's sunny at 13 in Nakuru, highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 24 in a rainy Nyeri at 13. It's 13 and sunny as well in Eldoret. It'll go to highs of 25 and coming down to lows of 12 today. In Mombasa, it's going to be a sunny morning at 26 currently, highs of 32 and lows of 24. And we'll see highs of 31 in Malindi, where it's sunny at 28. 20 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 18. And we'll see lows of 14 in Kakamega, where it's sunny at 16. Mostly cloudy conditions at 19 in Kakamega, in Kampala rather, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 31 in a rainy Dar es Salaam at 26. It's 17 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 32 in a clear Lagos at 25. It's 24 and clear in Kinshasa, highs of 30 and lows of 23. All right, continues in many parts of the city this morning. We're looking at it heavy on Uhuru Highway, and it's heading out from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout out towards Haile Selassie at that junction. The CBD is not looking too crazy right now, but we are looking at bumper-to-bumper inbound traffic on the Thika Superhighway, and it's well past Outer Ring, well past your knockoff towards Kiambu County, coming off of Thika Road. Use your service lanes. We saw that early, and it's likely to continue in that way for most parts of the morning. All right, we're also looking at traffic as you get to Nakuru city this morning, and we're looking at outbound traffic. We said it was going to be the thing as we go into the weekend. We're likely to see a lot of outbound traffic, so you need to watch out for that. Heading out west, watch out for traffic as you come in from Naivasha out towards Nakuru. All right, coming back into the city, let's keep an eye on what's going on Outer Ring. We're touching on Kangunda Road and also a little bit here and there coming from Juja and Manyanja roads. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us about what you see there. You find a good route, let us know and we'll share.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Around the country and around the world, interested in listening to this conversation today as we are talking with Timothy Owase, who is the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission. Timothy, there's this Samsung Z Flip 4 phone and what it's able to do in terms of taking video and making, I could make a short film right here.
Correct.
And you would be in the room with us right now and you'd be able to tell me if I'm up to scratch, maybe even give me some seed funding to be able to sort that out. But this phone is actually able to do some fantastic things in terms of content, in terms of what then you're able to film because of this fantastic technological advancement in its camera. It's the Samsung Z Flip 4, and we're saying flip over to the flip side of life.
Indeed.
There's also a discount on this phone. It's normally going for 150,000 shillings. But because of Black November, filmmakers take note. Because of Black November, we're saying 37,500 shillings knocked off it. So 112,500 shillings. And you'll be able to get this.
I'm glad you're saying that.
And you can imagine what you can do with this. Flip it put it in your pocket, go along, and you can actually make a 5-minute, 8-minute film.
Correct, yeah.
You said you're
off of
glad.
this.
Yes.
Why are you glad?
I'm glad because at Kenya Film Commission, we have a program, My Kenya, My Story, which is a mobile film competition. And we promote filmmaking through mobile. So with that kind of product from Samsung, I believe it will even enhance this kind of storytelling to go to a different level.
And that could jump us into the partnership conversation that we've been talking about. When we talk about the push towards professionalization of this industry in Kenya, partners come in, and one would hope that they do.
Yes,
so what are the partnerships that that the Kenya Film Commission has been looking at over the years to support and buffer filmmakers in the country?
It's an appreciation that film is serious business. When we all look at it in that angle, then we look at it from A to Z of filmmaking or storytelling by appreciating that filmmaking is for a purpose. We make films to be able to achieve certain goals. They may be social goals, economic goals, among others. So at Kenya Film Commission, we are focused on creating an ecosystem that will ignite the development and growth of this sector. We have quite a number of partnerships. We know research and statistics are very critical. So this financial year, we've partnered with Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to come up with the first ever film satellite account, which will enable the country to be able to know how much are we contributing to the economy, how many people are employed in the sector, and again, how many graduates are coming out of university and joining the film sector. This information will be able to, in turn, help decision makers in determining certain actions within the operations of the film sector. So as we do this, we have also brought on board a number of other partners. We have development partners like the GIZ, that is the German government, who are supporting us on the empowerment program, capacity building, because these are components within the film industry value chain that will help in professionalizing the industry. In addition to that, Kenya signed an agreement with the giant Netflix International so that we can be able to fund local productions, build capacity in the country, and also provide opportunities for filmmakers, young filmmakers, to get opportunities to shadow the experienced filmmakers in various parts of the world. You can imagine if we had 25 local filmmakers being spread across the globe. We have, let's say, 2 in Mexico, 3 in Asia, and all that, getting different kind of experience so that when they come back here in Kenya, they can be able to share with their fellow practitioners. This will be able to enhance the quality of productions, capacity in terms of skills, and also the quality of stories that come out, which will be able to enable this country to compete at the global level. And by doing that, and also through Kalasha International Film and TV Awards, this is just to give us a rating statement that we can be able to compete at a quality level and also to be able to show that Kenya is ready to do business with other countries. And remember, in addition to this, the month of November saw over 15 local films premiered, which is a clear indicator of the number of films that are actually coming out on an annual basis in this country. Kenya also signed an audiovisual agreement with South Africa to give Kenyan practitioners to work with their counterparts in South Africa, utilize opportunities available there in terms of funding, production facilities like studios, among others.
So even as you say that, 15 films in the month of November, in a market such as this, which came off of 2 years of COVID-19 when nothing was happening. So 15 new films. But then the purpose of a film is not for you to produce a film and keep it in your pocket. You want people to watch it. Is there an adequate screening culture in Kenya? And if not, what are the moves to say, okay, guys, come out and actually start to view these films, watch these films?
Great. With the emergence of COVID-19, the screening culture went down, but Kenyans are now coming out to be able to watch their own stories, and the demand for local stories growing. But at the same time, it's key to the content creators that we now have huge opportunities through technology. Many people are accessing content on their mobile devices, and telecom companies have now become key distribution pipelines for content creators. What that means, we are working around to see to it that the component of monetization is critical to content creators. All digital platforms that are available, how do we ensure that content creators are able to get income from the work they do? So all these opportunities are providing content creators with room for many Kenyans or viewers to access their content, because anytime you produce your content, you are producing it for a specific audience line. And if you know exactly who is your audience, you are able to monetize that and address the needs of that particular segment. But to answer your question, the screening culture in Kenya is still a challenge, but the Commission is driving that through our audience development program to see to it that Kenyans go back to the movies and are able to watch and also pay for movies that they are watching.
Right.
Yes.
So how then, and I think it's for a lot of people, I'm thinking for those who are wanting to get into film, who want to get into production,
right? And
we're talking about the screening culture, right? So we're trying to work on that, you know? But the earning factor is an important factor. For those who want to get, because one might think, well, it's all about acting. Well, no, it's not. There's a flurry of careers that surround film and filmmaking, from production to, you know, logistics to public relations and things like this. So then the question is, what is the earning muscle of film production in the country today?
Well, within the film industry value chain, there are various aspects that one will be able to focus on. We have producers, we have executive producers, we have actors, set designers, directors, among others. So when one joins the film industry in a specific element, a key determinant or a question that you need to ask yourself, you want to join the film industry as what? And again, from parenting level, my rallying call is to ask parents to allow their children or their youngsters to do what their passion is. If your child is a perfect dancer and he or she would like to pursue dancing as a career, don't limit that kid to pursue that particular line, because there is no career within the creative industry that is not paying. City, you will be able to agree with me that in some parts of this country, actually across this country, when growing up before the emergence of technology, clay used to play a lot of role in terms of children playing. You would mold aeroplanes, big buses, build houses, and play with that. But today, I'm asking that we can actually move the same traditional way of building these houses, aeroplanes, and so on, through software development and come up with the gaming products which can be sold. And when we do this, we create wealth out of the same, because it's a huge opportunity.
Indeed.
And that's why, other than referring to this as a film industry, we are now advancing it to a screen sector, because it covers games, it covers animation, and it covers film. Yes.
So are you going to change the name?
No, globally it's now being recognized as a screen sector because gaming is part of filmmaking. Yes.
So the organization that you had,
yes,
that's a question I'm asking. Are you going to retain your name, or are you going to change a name that reflects?
We'll transform as time goes and as the demand of the nature requires.
Yes.
But I can assure you, the opportunities around the screen sector cannot be compared to anything else other than what we can be able to achieve as a country. All I'm calling on Kenyans is to see the value and champion the productivity of this particular sector.
Essentially, do I hear you to be saying that the opportunities that are available in this particular sector can only be limited by you and your imagination?
As a creator, you are not limited by anything. You can be able to go beyond your imagination. Yes.
Okay. Looking at these individuals over time then who may have been supported, whose talents then have been brought out, we're seeing these screenings. Again, I'm coming back to this great number of 15 new films in the month of November. Obviously, they did not start production in November. They started production a while ago, but then they actually came to the fore later. How then does this fuel who you will celebrate at the Film Awards now tomorrow? How then do you decide what categories then are you looking at? Who do you decide will be celebrated when it comes to the awards?
That's a good question. By the time we get to the celebrations tomorrow, it's been a journey. This is a journey that has taken several months for us to arrive at the winning team tomorrow of 39. First, we send out a call for submissions, and all filmmakers have an equal opportunity to submit their entries. Then the industry comprise the jury. This jury is the one that sifts through the films that have been submitted to be able to come up with the nominated films. And the nominated films normally end up into the public voting component, which enables Kenyans to be able to select which is the best out of, for example, if it is the best director category, we have 5 nominated films. One of them will be able to emerge as a winner. And of course, determining the winning film out of the nominated is the public and the jury. So the jury, the key component here is that the jury comprises of filmmakers themselves, which are represented on the panel. And this panel, how we send out calls to the industry to nominate their representatives to come and be part of the jury.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the splash in terms of communication, in terms of letting the public know that, there are these Kenyan films, brilliant in nature, that have actually been produced over time by Kenyan filmmakers, by Kenyan producers, by, a set, whether they include, what people on set from set members, a set crew from other countries or not, but that was made here. What's the splash? Because we see this in many other countries whereby one movie was made and they talk about it as though, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So what is the commitment or what is the communication angle that KFC uses to spread this around?
This is a show business.
Yeah.
And it being a show business, we need a collective effort by all Kenyans, the media, to be able to position filmmaking to a level that we desire. And this is a challenge that I would like to pose to the nation, especially broadcasting and print. How come we never position show business in our headlines? We focus on other topical issues more as compared to the show business. Number 2, the government has put in place what we call the 40-60% quota system for free-to-air content that ought to be aired by local free-to-air broadcasting. How well are media houses achieving this particular component, and are we supporting local filmmaking in terms of publicity so that we are able to position these particular products to a level where we are able to achieve the kind of splash that we expect? Yes.
Okay. So, come tomorrow, come at the hour, what exactly happens?
It will be a glamorous event. It's a black tie kind of event.
Please explain. Black tie meaning?
It's a show event that we will have tomorrow from 6:30 p.m. And I can assure you, you will have a red carpet where the winning categories will be celebrated in a style that elevates them as show makers in the country.
It's the black tie thing that I want to understand.
Yes.
Why do you call it black tie? Why not red tie? Why not green tie?
Black tie, basically this is associated with the entertainment industry.
Glamour and pizzazz.
Yes.
There's a question though that I want to ask. If I look at the entertainment industry globally, one of the things that makes it attractive is what is reported as the earnings of people who are high up in that particular industry. Okay, now, what is it that determines the earnings of the people who are in this industry?
Well, globally, as you rightfully put it, the earnings of practitioners in this industry is way higher, and Kenya can also be able to attain the same. All we are working towards achieving is to position ourselves at a level where we can be able to produce very high quality products that the demand for the same will be at a rate at which, for example, DiCaprio's film will be competing with. If we have that, then the pricing for this local content product or practitioner will be as I would compare to the Hollywood producer.
What would make that possible? Because we know that there is, excuse me, there is huge capital injection. Looking at some of these, there's huge capital injection when it comes to what they put towards government-based, government-supported and funded. But then we also see that the advertising that comes from sectors is huge.
It's a combined effort, actually.
Exactly. So how could that happen?
That will happen through incentivizing the sector, allocating more money into the sector in a manner that if City want to script his story should be supported to a level of the international standard. But if we are producing a low value film, then it will not be possible for us to compete at that particular.
Is it possible to do? I mean, let me give you an example. Some of the series that we watch on TV and such, we have actors being paid upwards of $200,000 an episode.
Right.
An episode for a series or season that is 12, 24 episodes.
It is very possible. And for me, I'll start from organization. Like locally, we need to create guilds that are actually working for the artists. If we have red cards that will set standards as to if you are a script writer, if you are an actor, how much are you eligible to be paid, for example, per hour? If that is not in place, then it will be very difficult for us to attain that kind of standard. Number two, put more money into the sector in a manner that we are able to produce high-quality products by using high-quality equipment and also being able to bring in, through co-production treaties, bring in co-producers from other regions. I'll give an example. A Kenyan writer collaborating with a Nigerian producer and bringing in a set designer from India and bringing in a director from Hollywood, all this combined will be able to give a product that will be coming from this country a global view. And that way, it ups the market. And when it ups the market, the rate card for such practitioners will also go high.
Okay.
So it is very possible. And again, the media also has to play a critical role of positioning the sector through proper publicity. And of course, I know media is in business, but being in business, you may be able to apply what we call corporate social responsibility in supporting my sector.
Indeed. The education sector, I think, is really important here because what we're trying to do is cement something amongst people who are already practitioners. But then there's the promise of the future for those who are in school today.
Right.
Those who are in high school, those who are in primary school, who want to imagine that they could operate in this world and wouldn't necessarily have to leave the country to do so.
Correct.
So is the film commission involved in education projects at a primary level to get students, learners at this point to understand that it is actually a career that you could make in Kenya?
That's a very good point, and I can confirm, yes, the Kenya Film Commission is involved. We are currently setting up what we call film clubs in schools. And the intention is to create these clubs a sense of understanding that a kid who wants to become a film producer, they can actually grow from that lowest level all the way. And that can only be achieved if they are nurtured growing from kindergarten all the way to university, knowing that this is a career. We do not want to see a situation you are passionate and you are talented in your area only to get to your high school level. When you are choosing a career at university, you are limited to taking specific courses because that's what you are being guided to do. And yet you are so talented in your particular creative area. So through film clubs in schools and the key outreach programs that the Commission has set out is actually creating room for an understanding within an education level and also working with the Kenya curriculum Development Institution, as well as the Ministry of Education, we are working on how do we mainstream the creative sector into the education system in Kenya. And I believe CBC is one of those initiatives that are connected to this sector. Yes.
You know, the entertainment factor in this particular industry is big, but there are those who've argued that it offers an escapism that may not necessarily be healthy. Now, beyond just the production that is balanced, that looks at real life features as well as things which are purely fictional and purely meant for entertainment, how do you balance this?
Through entertainment, there is what we call edutainment. You can be able to access programs that are more educative. Let's just go back a few years ago when we had COVID-19. Think about how entertainment industry played a role in educating the masses on how to prevent the issue of infections of COVID-19, among others, HIV and AIDS, and among others. In agriculture, you utilize the entertainment industry to educate farmers on how to utilize certain technologies and so on. So the creative sector provides an array of opportunities, not only just to entertain, but as a job source and also as a cultural heritage preservation mechanism, and also as a room for creating an opportunity for jobs of the future, which are not compared to anything else.
Indeed. Timothy, what would be your final words on these awards that take place tomorrow and then moving forward into the future as it concerns film?
Well, tomorrow mine is to welcome all Kenyans to watch Kalasha International Film and TV Awards, which will be taking place tomorrow at Safari Park. And we'll have this live on KTN from 7:30. So watch the awards and let's celebrate our winners tomorrow.
Indeed.
And again, encourage Kenyans who are yearning to join this sector that your choice of joining the sector is very valid, because this is the sector of the future. And let's create opportunities for all Kenyans in this country.
Indeed. Timothy, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Hopefully it will not be another year before we see you again, and we can, come in and talk about, the progression of the industry, and then see what happens, after some of these, collaborations that you've been talking about actually do come into being.
I have many topical issues that we can discuss. Statistics, capacity building, audience development, creating a screening culture here. And these are some of the key areas that we can be able to collaborate and work together. So I'm hoping that in the next few weeks, I should be back so that we can be able to discuss more on the screen sector.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. How about some fine living? Thank you to Centum Real Estate along the Thika Superhighway. Enjoy, live, work, and play in this particular lifestyle. The level of urban infrastructure at Two Rivers is just what you need for your home. 495,000 shillings is what is up for grabs. The balance in flexible installments or from your bank or from your SACCO. Have an opportunity to live on the luxurious side of life with Two Rivers and Centum Developments. Conversations continue. It's 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The Digital Service Commission has shortlisted 20 candidates for appointment as High Court judges. Chief Justice Martha Koome in a notice said the JSC had formulated the list following a thorough vetting exercise for the position as advertised early this year on March 13th. She said the names of successful nominees had already been forwarded to President William Ruto, awaiting approval. The vetting of Nairobi County Executive Committee members will now proceed after the Employment and Labour Relations Court dismissed a suit challenging the exercise. The 10 CECs appointed by Governor Johnson Sakaja will be vetted by the Nairobi County Assembly starting next week after the County Assembly Clerk releases the vetting schedule. The Petitioners Association of Muslim Lawyers and Nubian Rights Forum wanted the exercise quashed on grounds that the Governor's list was discriminatory as no Muslim featured in the appointment. In response, the governor, through his lawyer Duncan Okach, opposed the allegation, arguing that the agenda of the petitioners was to use the suit to create an imaginary religious rift, which he observed to be a dangerous trajectory. Justice Anmore, while dismissing the suit, terming it premature, also added that there was no evidence adduced to show that members of those communities made application for the various positions and were not considered on the basis of religion. She also noted that the governor followed all the laid out procedures in making the appointments. Now, the first ever Nairobi Festival to celebrate the city's vibe will take place on December 12th, which coincides with Jamhuri Day at the revamped Uhuru Park Gardens. This is according to Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja. Governor Sakaja said the festival, which will be held annually and will be coupled up by various activities including diverse culture, food, music, acrobats and art. During the festival, some streets will be set aside to display culture, food, creativity and have the Nganya Awards for the best done matatus, have rugby, football and basketball tournaments and many other activities. Now, 8 police officers from the disbanded Special Services Unit of the DCI have been released on a personal bond of 500,000 shillings each. Kawa Local's Chief Magistrate Diana Mushashi released the corps after the investigating officers failed to produce a report on DNA test from the suspects. The officers, who've been in custody for more than 30 days, are suspected to be behind the mysterious disappearance of 2 Indian nationals and their taxi driver, whose bodies were found in the Aberdare mountain. The 8 were detained for 21 days pending investigations on November 10th. The magistrate further directed the parties to agree on a day they will avail themselves for DNA testing at the government chemist. The case will be mentioned on January 16th. 2 brothers died after they were electrocuted at Rota village in Homa Bay County. The boys aged 12 and 9 were grade 3 and PP2 pupils at Rota Primary School. Area Assistant Chief Thomas Siango said the minors were electrocuted when they were grazing cattle to graze at a field near their home. The incident occurred when one of the boys touched a hanging live wire on an electricity pole that was recently connected to their neighboring home. The other boy was also electrocuted when he tried to rescue his brother, who was stuck on the power cable. The chief said they alerted Kenya Power officials and police on the incident, further urging the company to rectify the issue to avoid further damage. Our thoughts and condolences to the family. Now, the African Forest Forum, in collaboration with the Global Forests Financing Facilitation Network, is hosting a training workshop in Mombasa aimed at facilitating forestry stakeholders in the continent on various approaches to mobilize resources to boost efforts against climate change and its devastating impacts. The workshop is part of an ongoing strategy to help African countries to prepare coherent, well-articulated projects and tap into funding opportunities that could enable the continent address risk advanced by climate change. Coming just 1 week after the 27th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change held in Egypt, the workshop has attracted more than 50 forestry stakeholders from 12 Anglophone and Lusophone countries, drawn from the governmental and non-governmental organizations, civil society and local communities. AFF has enlisted the services of various experts and resource persons to spearhead discussions at the 5-day meeting. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Traffic on Vibes Radio.
102.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Okay, so we're looking at traffic, still a thing in most parts of the city this morning, and coming off the Thika Superhighway, quite some, and it continues to be heavy as you're going towards that Pangani underpass. It looks like it's going to be that way for some time. It is Friday, so we have a lot of outbound traffic. It's happening going in a westerly direction. We've already seen that there's news of that coming out towards Naivasha, out into Nakuru. So as you're heading in that direction, just know that there's some traffic that lies up ahead. On the Thika Superhighway, outbound traffic is also doing a thing today. And so if you're heading out of the city, just know that it's going to slow down a little bit for you, but it should be all right past mid-morning. Coming into the CBD from Westlands, coming in from Jogo Road, coming in from Mombasa Road, everybody's heading into the city and then trying to get out. That's what it looks like. And it's not too painful, but it has the potential of getting messy. Just let us know what's going on where you are. I want to keep things moving regardless of the situation, and it's going to be a good Friday. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there in an attempt to keep things moving this morning.
Spice up your life. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is
at 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. The Situation Room continues and we're stepping up and shining this hour. It's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. Good morning to you if you're just tuning in. Our live stream is up, and again, welcome to our audience on KTN Home. As we get into this hour, we're going to kick things off with today's proverb.
Indeed we are. This is the final day of our proverbs from the country of Guinea. Something we'd like to mention to our listeners as well as our guests. This isn't the country of Guinea-Bissau. No. Neither is it Equatorial Guinea. Neither is it Papua New Guinea. It is Guinea. Full stop.
Only Guinea.
Only Guinea.
Thank you.
And it neighbors Sierra Leone, Mali, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, and the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? So, it is a country that is unique. Former French colony. Well, enough said about the country. The proverb. The bitter heart eats its owner.
So if you want to be bitter, you'll be eaten.
If you like being eaten, have a bitter heart.
Oh, wow. Okay. That roundabout somersault ways of figuring things out. Okay. Our guests are in the studio this morning and it's a full house here, and we're talking about some of the things that we've been speaking about for the last couple of days as the year comes to an end. Kiwi, step up and shine is what we're talking about this hour. And joining us in the studio today, Customer Marketing Manager East Africa, Paris Wanjao, is here with us. Paris, good morning.
Good morning.
Esther Njehia. Did I say that right? Yes. Yay. Okay, Esther Njehia, who is the Associate Customer Marketing East Africa. And I really love it. Hololang.
Yes.
Hololang, yes. Good morning. Give me your other name, Hololang.
I only have one name.
Really?
Yes.
You're like guys who just go with one.
Just hold it. Meaning,
like
even
share.
Any identification document has one name.
Yes.
Hololang.
My parents insisted on having one African name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they went with Hololang.
Hololang.
Okay, and your parents' name? Your father's name, in other words? Because I'm sure or does he also just have one name, which he doesn't pass on to other people?
I think the reason they gave me one name is because they had multiple names.
Mm-hmm.
But in South Africa at the time, it was common to have an African name and an English name.
Yes.
So you had to have both at the time, whereas I'm a post-apartheid baby. So I was just given one African name.
I love it. You know, you make an entrance, Hololang.
Hololang, yeah.
You don't even have to be concerned about, is he going to be confused with somebody else? No. It's like share.
Well, she speaks loudly and eloquently because she is not dissimilar. Yes, we call her Ndu, but her name is
Ezio Kubundu.
Thank
See?
you very much. See?
Ezio Kubundu.
Ezio Kubundu, yeah.
You see, I have to think and place the letters in my head even before I pronounce the name. But so we just leave it with Ndu. Easier.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the hot seats of the Situation Room. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We're talking about something that has been a household name in many of our homes around the country and around the continent. The world for years. And so now we are saying with Kiwi, step up and shine. And getting into this campaign, which started a couple of days ago, and looking as to how the campaign will be running and basically the tenets. Let's start with Kiwi as a whole. Paris, Kiwi, how long has Kiwi been around, and what has been, the role that Kiwi has played in our baskets, in our homes?
So I will throw that question to Hololang.
Yeah. So Kiwi has a strong heritage. It's not just a distinctly African brand. It's an international brand. So the brand by itself was started in the UK, and it's been around Africa it's been around for just in general for over 110 years. I remember a few years ago in South Africa we celebrated 100 years of Kiwi being around. And we understand the role Kiwi plays is that it's sort of part and parcel in sort of taking pride in who you are. So as a brand, we represent or talk about what or how we help you to step up and shine. And that's on a daily basis. And we talk about that from you being as a young child in school all the way to working as a professional. Because
feel free to look at me when you're talking about the past. Yes,
you can relate. Yeah.
Yes, do not hinder yourself.
No. Yes. I mean, we all have a past, right? We all have a past. We all went to school, and that's where we primarily learned about Kiwi, or to use Kiwi as a shoe care product, and we wanted to help people sort of. We want to be part of people's sort of, how do you want to put it, journey into sort of adulthood and sort of the professional world and so on and so on. So that's the fundamental role that we see ourselves as Kiwi.
How would that be? I mean, I imagine days gone by when children, when we were in school, and one of the things was, keeping yourself neat, keeping yourself presentable, your appearances usually by your headmaster and all of this was very, very important. So then how would this be playing a role to make sure that, children are then coming of age, but in this manner, which was kept proper and all of this?
I mean, that's a very good question. So I don't think that has changed in many ways. I think so people have gotten into a world where they've gone to schools and there's less pressure or there's less strict rules around it. But fundamentally is that when you go to schools, like school kids are wearing school shoes. And for us, it's less about the strictness of the schools and the rudimentary part of it, but more of how you as a consumer or as a person sort of take pride in your look and how you step up. And that's why we use the phrase to step up, because I think it's very much around how you represent yourself as a person and taking pride in that. That's the fundamental sort of the basis of the whole campaign and what we represent as a brand. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess for you now, Esther, how then has Kiwi as a brand been instrumental in supporting children in school and, over time? How have those collaborations worked in the past?
So for kids, you help them know how to have confidence in themselves by the look that they have, and it gives them the confidence in life, and they're able to walk to walk confidently in life, and just to know that they're growing makes them, it's not just about all the children have to be in uniform, then they have to wear shoes that are shining. It gives them confidence to step up and shine and walk through life with confidence.
And also just to add to what Esther's saying is that this is not a new thing that we're doing. So over the last couple of years we've been a little bit quiet as a brand, as Kiwi, and that's because the world has been going through challenging times with COVID and that. So before that, this was something that we would do all the time. So we would have a regular campaign where we're giving away school fees. We would go into schools and drive tin collections and so on. So we're just bringing back what consumers know about more than anything. So as a brand, it's about understanding our role and giving back to society. And more than anything, it's just doing what we used to do. Because we haven't done this for a while, so we understand we need to come back into the society and the core consumer for us, which is the school-going child and their parents, and give back.
Correct. Yeah, go ahead, Perth.
To just support what Hololang is saying, this particular campaign, we were solely talking to our consumers and just showing them we understand there is inflation. We understand that you have to dig down your pockets, and we want to be part of the journey because you've been part of our brand journey for all those years. So I think this campaign, that's why we are going so hard on it, is just to show our long-term consumers that we feel you, we are with you.
Isn't that where the world is going? Because I think about it, and at the risk of letting the entire globe know how old I am, that was Kiwi in our houses from the time we were children. It was every school term. It was 2 weeks after that you needed a new tin. It was
for sure,
for when we were growing up, going to school, all of this, even until now.
Correct.
So then here we are, and isn't that where the world is going really now? That it's been a tough 5 years. It's probably going to be another tough 5 years, and so the brands that were our companions from the time that we were younger are saying, let's hold your hand in these next couple of years that probably are going to be really tough.
Just so that you can feel a little encouraged, if I may. Even I had a time when I was young. Yes. And when I was young, our experience was not dissimilar to yours. In fact, one assumed that when you're talking of shoe polish, you're talking of Kiwi. So Kiwi became not only a brand name, but the generic for shoe polish.
Yes, on the shopping list it was Kiwi.
Yes, you meant shoe polish or whatever, but it was Kiwi. So it isn't something that one can look at. It isn't a product that you consider is relevant today. It's a product that you look at and wonder, what have these people done to ensure that this product is not just cross-generational, it has entered a new millennium? Because in all honesty, I was born in the previous century, of course. Now, if something has lasted that long, there must be something that these people who produce this product have gotten right. What is it?
Look, I think we have the privilege of working for a great company. So the Kiwi brand falls under the SC Johnson company, which takes pride in being a family company. And that's why things like understanding the consumer and understanding what the consumer's core needs are or pain points are, and sort of speaking to those sort of core pain points. And that's why the core of the campaign is understanding what the environment the consumer is living in and how we can contribute towards that. I think SC Johnson has been in Africa for a long time, I think over 50 years. And we do a multiple number of brands, but at the core of it for the Africa business is the Kiwi brand, because it resonates with who we are as people in Africa, right? We have always taken pride in how we show up and how we represent ourselves. And as a brand manager, I am very privileged to work on a brand that stands for these things and a company that stands for these things, so I think that's what's helped us sort of move along with the times. because school will always be like a constant in our lives, you know. And as Africans, more than most parts of the world, is that we take pride in being educated to a certain level. And we're there for the journey as a brand. Yeah.
So then, I mean, for you, Esther, even as you look at this brand, is somebody saying in this campaign, step up and shine? Who then gets to step up and shine? Who is stepping up and shining here?
We all are stepping up and shining. Yes,
we
it's not
all
just
is who exactly?
That means the child that's going to school, the professional that's going to work, our parents as they go for their meetups and family gatherings, even as we go into the Christmas season, we all need to step up and shine. Yes.
Correct. Amidst everything, the macro environment that is going around, we need to all step up and shine. Correct.
So, I mean, I see this as a little bit more than just stepping into the supermarket and buying a tin of Kiwi, but then getting into them when you're digging a little bit deeper and saying that, look, again, coming off a place whereby it's been a really tough couple of years. And look, truth be told, that the outlook right now doesn't necessarily say that it might be a bit dark. So in all of this, here's a bit of a light that you can use to chart your path. In terms of longevity of this, I mean, like you said, it's not something that just started here in November 2022. It's something that the brand has been doing historically. Why continue?
I don't know. Like, it sounds like a...
I mean, everybody's having a hard time.
Yeah, it sounds like a question that I've never thought about, because it's something that we always think about. You know, it's a continuity thing that we try and do all the time, because we know who our core consumer is. We know people that use the brand or use the product, and they will always be there. And for us, it's supporting those consumers throughout their journey in life. You know, and hence, as Esther said, it's about being there for when people need to step up continuously through their life. So whether it's your first day at school as a 6 or 7 year old, and we all have fond memories of those days, or whether it's your first day in high school and then you have your first transition into your first job, where you have to sort of think about, I need to wear school shoes and a suit potentially every day. It's important for us to be there for these consumers as a brand, beyond just being the brand of choice in those occasions, but it's like, how do we help you show up? And we take pride in that too.
If my memory serves me right, there was a time Kiwi had a promotion, but this promotion was tied in with a competition for schools. I remember this because I have a niece who won. So that's how I remember. Is this similar, or are you hoping to introduce something similar to that one? Because that competition, I am merely asking because since the focus now is on, as you say, stepping up and shining and focusing on educational institutions, this is a multi-pronged question. That's question number one. Since the three of you pick and choose. Question number two, school-going children, yes, competition for them. What about the next level of school? People who are in secondary going on to tertiary education. What about them? How exactly does Kiwi specify the outreach messages for this particular group? Yes, you may have been using the product as a child, and then you grow up and you find the other products that seem to be saying the same thing.
So I think I'll tackle first the first question. So the promotion we were previously doing was a collection of tins for progress, and we could ask schools and students to collect tins. The team which had the most tins, they were winning school buses and some various gifts that we're giving out. And however, this particular promotion is quite different because we are trying to drive a different value proposition to our consumer because of the economic condition that we are taking to.
Value proposition. What is that?
we are saying, yes, maybe you're spending. We want our customers to get the value of buying a tin promo, at a tin of Kiwi.
So you are propositioning and promoting that value.
Yes.
Okay.
So exactly, because what we've seen is that we're not saying that the children are the beneficiaries. The students in school are the beneficiaries of this. How exactly now does this work? So now that goes to Esther. The children being the beneficiaries of this campaign.
Yeah.
How exactly does this work? What are we saying? You step up and do now in order for you to shine.
All right. So when you get into the store, into the supermarket, into the duka that's just near you, you'll get a tin that has a yellow sticker. And the yellow sticker says get instant airtime or data and school fees rewards. So everyone is a winner. Once you buy this tin, there's a code inside. So you open and the lid has a code in and you get into the journey. So you dial *459* and then 5#. When you do that, it will guide you into to choose whether you want to get data or whether you want to get airtime. And that puts you in the list of draw where you're going to win school fees. And the draws, we do them every week, every Friday morning. And then we have partnered also with Radio Maisha, who will announce the winners. And we've already had 3 winners in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, so the school fees is paid to the school directly. So once we get the winner, we speak to them. If it's their guardian or their parent, then they're able to give us the details of the school and the school fees is paid. So it's a great and exciting time, especially since we are getting into the new calendar year for school. And now that schools are back to the normal school calendar, it's such an exciting journey because we're going to be able to pay school fees for 36 Kenyans. Yes.
All right, so 36 children around Kenya will have an opportunity to benefit from 35,000 shillings towards school fees.
Yes.
And so yes, so there's the campaign is very much two-pronged. So there's driving a value from an instant airtime perspective. So with every purchase of the specially marked Kiwi tin, the consumer can redeem airtime or data. And depending on the size of the tin, so the value increases. And then once they've redeemed the airtime, they'll automatically be entered into the draw for the school fees. And I think your question, the second part of your question was, it slipped my mind now.
The tertiary.
Yes.
So that's the 35,000 Kenya shilling can be used at any level, whether it's primary school or high school, and even to tertiary level. You know, the 35,000 is up to you in terms of your educational needs. So, as we said, we're there for the consumer throughout their journey. So it's very important for us then to be open to different levels of education around. It's not just primary school, but we're opening it up to secondary and tertiary level in terms of winning the fees.
Okay, let's take a break at this point and then come back and continue with that conversation. We are looking at the Kiwi Step Up and Shine campaign that takes place at least before schools open next year in January, and looking at opportunity for children supported by one of their favorite brands, Kiwi, to definitely do this Step Up and Shine. It's 8:30 on the nose. Kenya's biggest conversation continues right after this.
Only way to start your
Using
day.
the ones with code here.
Twitter at SpiceFM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
That's it.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
You've had the luxury of living for 50 years and you cannot still explain yourself. Surely. Oh my God.
The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Oh, okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No.
Since I'm not shipping up.
You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man?
Emmanuel Talabu used to tell us a story of they were in school and they've been told to write composition about a ship. His classmate raises a hand. Teacher, are you talking about a ship or a ship goat?
all right, looking at 16 degrees in Nairobi this morning. We will see highs of 25 and lows of 16. Looking into Nakuru, sunny conditions at 15, highs of 28 and lows of 13. It's 14 and rainy in Nyeri, highs of 24 and lows of 13. And 50 and partly sunny in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 12. It's mostly sunny at 27 in Mombasa, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31 in Malindi, where it is sunny at 28. It's 21 and partly sunny in Kisumu, we'll see highs of 30 and highs of 31 in Kakamega, where it's 23 and sunny at the moment. Mostly sunny at 21 in Kampala, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 31 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 27. It's 19 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28 and lows of 15, and mostly clear at 25 in Lagos, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 30 in Kinshasa, where it's mostly sunny at 24.
Spice up your life.
All right, so still looking at a busy situation on most of these Nairobi streets this morning. Heading out in a westerly direction, or looking at traffic that's built up as you're heading out towards Westlands and then through into Limuru, out to Naivasha, out into Nakuru, outward bound traffic today seems to be a thing. Let's look at the Thika Superhighway, and traffic coming in is not so bad, at least not for now. That Pangani underpass, it's going to hold up for some traffic for some time. Inbound traffic coming off of Kiambu Road also still looks to be a little busy. It's the CBD, that's where most of the action is this morning. Coming off Mombasa Road, not too bad until you get to that Nyayo Stadium roundabout. It's going to be heavy as you get towards Haile Selassie at the junction. Gong Road, we've not looked at that in a minute, and it's not looking too bad. We would have heard the cries from yonder, but it's not too bad, at least not for now. Let's keep an eye on things as we normally do. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's keep it moving.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
At 46 minutes to 9 o'clock, Kenya's biggest conversation continues. Ndu Oko, C.T. Muga, and our guests from Kiwi Step Up and Shine campaign this morning continues. Paris, Esther, and Hololang. And we are looking at, the campaign that started, some weeks ago, and looking at giving folks an opportunity to step up and shine in the midst of all of this. And even as we continue with that conversation, looking at now what folks will be able to do on the holiday. And so folks will be asking themselves the question, okay, so school hasn't yet started, and maybe I'm not buying shoe polish yet because my shopping list is not out. What are we saying about that?
So we are talking to the parents as the holidays are on for the next couple of months. We are telling them as we continue with the holidays, remember the schools are to open. So, and as a brand, as a Kiwi brand, we want to support you as you pay your school fees. So you need to participate in this campaign. Go and get and buy a Kiwi tin. Even now, you don't have to wait until January as the schools are opening. Just buy now, and so that you can get a chance to get into the draw of winning school fees. But in the meantime, you'll just get airtime once you buy the tin of Kiwi brand.
Also, is that a guaranteed thing that if I buy a Kiwi tin today, for sure I'll get something? I mean, and that's the question. Do I have to wait and maybe try my luck?
No, you get instantly you get airtime or data. You have the choice to select what you want and then get the opportunity to get into the draw, and gives you a chance to win school fees.
Is it safe to ask how much these bundles will be worth? The airtime, and it is not safe to ask. That is a surprise that awaits.
Surprise! Yes. Yeah.
It's value for money for sure.
It's value for money.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
So some of the deeper conversations that we have in terms of a brand, and how you say, look, of course our appearance matters to us, and the way that your confidence is built, as you talk about, Esther, when you look a certain way and when you're attending classes and such, may even do something and take away from what you might be feeling inside. Your appearance,
correct,
is able to, sort some of those issues for you out, surface level as they may be. How is Kiwi then interested in shaping these faces for the future?
Yeah, look, I think as a brand, and speaking to the question you asked before around as we go into festive season and out of school season rather, or holiday season, is that we understand that our consumer isn't just a school-going child, right? Is that there are people like us that still have to go into the office until the 23rd or 22nd of December, and we still have to we still take pride in how we look and how we show up, right? So therefore, then this promotion isn't necessarily just for the school-going child in that sense. And that's one thing that we've understood as a brand over the years, is that we're not just speaking to the one consumer. We're speaking to the child and the parent, because yes, the child needs to show up in school, and it's super important for them to have shiny shoes and good-looking shoes. But like as adults, we sort of make those transitions and into the working life, and the mentality doesn't change around using the brand. We still take pride in how we show up and how our shoes look. And more than anything, beyond just taking pride in how you look, it's about looking after the products that you buy. I've grown to understand that as an adult man, is that shoes can be quite expensive, and our products have the added value of protecting your shoes and helping you sort of use them for longer, as opposed to buying new shoes every year like you potentially would have done as a school child. It's potentially how you make them last longer, particularly in the environment that we live in, right? So that's another element that we don't necessarily talk up enough as a brand, and that's part of my job in terms of like, how do we educate consumers on how to use the product in terms of driving longevity of their products, and as in shoes, and even beyond that. I mean, we went to a market yesterday here in Nairobi where they were using a brown polish to polish bags. And I remember then that when I spoke to my global counterparts in other parts of the world, they're using the Kiwi products to sort of bring back or rejuvenate their leather goods, whether it's a leather jacket or pants, or whatever it is, is that the product is multifaceted in that way.
Unintended benefits, perhaps? Or was it intended?
Unintended.
For it to be,
Yeah, for sure unintended.
Yeah.
I think, but, as evolution of products have come along, is that we've understood that our product has or serves multiple needs in that way. And we want to be part of that and sort of helping, as Paris said, is that driving sort of the value of the product, which is beyond just the price and getting the airtime, but it's like, what other uses can I get out of the product? And like I said, it's sort of giving you the ability to have your shoes for longer or use them for longer, or your bags or whatever it is. So that's another thing we often don't talk about enough, but it's definitely an added value from a consumer perspective that as a brand manager, that's one of my core responsibilities, and something that we will be driving on the way forward.
We are talking about black shoe polish here, but I'm certain Kiwi doesn't just manufacture black shoe polish.
For sure, yes.
Yes. So yes, we will promote the black shoe polish. But please, just so that we understand, what else do you people produce?
So we have 3 core product ranges that we produce. So there's the paste, which is, and it comes in the form of a tin like this, which is what most of us would know Kiwi for, right? And then we have creams, and we're in a fortunate position in Kenya that the consumer and the shoe shiners on the streets have a better understanding of creams than other markets, is that this market is massive for creams. And then we have liquid polishes, which is the easy to apply liquid polish. So basically,
with the foam on the end.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And that was brought in as a sort of premium offering and a quick and easy solution for people like us that don't necessarily have the time to go through the effort of polishing their shoes. So those are our core products. And we offer them, some of them in multiple colors. So we have mid brown in the paste, we have light brown, we have dark brown, we have neutral. We used to do a white, but we don't do a white anymore, unfortunately.
Why don't you do a white anymore?
Because we understood that there's a neutral color. So once you buy a neutral paste, you could use it across multiple colors. You know, you don't necessarily have to have 4 Kiwi
so what
tins.
do you use on shoes that are suede?
Yeah, we have suede cleaner.
Yeah, we have suede cleaner as well, but it's not part of the core business. But it is an offering. Look, we understand that as an African consumer, the core need is for leather shoes. And yes, people have evolved to beyond just leather shoes, but our core consumer and what we feel like we have a right to win in is the leather product shoes.
Right.
And in the past, in markets like South Africa and a little bit in Kenya, we did sort of like sneaker cleaners and so on and so on. But we understood that the core focus of the brand needs to be where the core consumer is. And for the African consumer across all of the countries, basically, the leather product is where most of the need was, because we understood that we have other ways of cleaning our sneakers or whatever it is, right? Or our suede shoes that as a brand didn't really fit into our core beliefs and how we would like to play in the market.
Yeah. So is the brand one that can be depended upon for the future? And I ask this question in this manner because there is the hope that every now and then Kiwi will do something and, somebody who needs it will be able to go to school. And that's what we're talking about. That it could be the intervention that would allow this child to go to school. Without it, this child would not go to school. So we're looking futuristically now.
Yeah.
Are there plans to make sure that Kiwi then continues to be this brand upon which, parents and children can say, look, you know what? It's possible that come January or come August, Kiwi's going to reach out and say, okay, guys, let's see what we can do. Is that, and that's the kind of dependability that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think, just to be brutally honest with you, I think as a brand, we understand our role in society. And the fundamental thing is we need to provide quality products. And we've historically done promotions like this. And we look to continue promotions like this, but there's no certainty. The world is a constantly changing place. So we will look to constantly give back in different ways as Perez said, is that in previous years we used to do a tin collection. Now we've morphed into a slightly different way, and as situations sort of like change, we'll have to adjust accordingly. So it might not be necessarily given back in school fees or whatever it is, but I think certainly in terms of what we stand for as a company, as a SCJ, as a family company, there's a constant need to give back to the consumer in multiple ways.
Yeah, there's a huge responsibility on school-going children right now as future makers, as the generation that is going to change the world, and that what is being done now is set as a foundation upon which they're going to hop on and come later. How do you link yourselves with this future generation in some of these things that you do then moving forward?
So probably what we are currently doing is, again, the step up and shine and telling the students you need to look good, feel great, so that you can as well continue being confident as you go to school. And we are, I think, previously when we were growing up, I know you'll say that he's older than us, but from a grooming perspective, I think I'm old enough. We were
okay.
I think here we are comparing age.
Yes. So we there was a grooming principle during parade. You remember?
Yes.
And I think it had started fading away at some point because you remember we used to go to parade and everyone is inspected, their shoes are inspected and everything. But that culture had started fading off, and that's what we want to talk about again. People need to look good, to feel good, and to just ensure that directionally, as students, as children, we are communicating the same to them. Yeah.
You know, the issue of the future is always pivotal to any business.
Yes.
Now, you have a captive market in the sense that a product that has been here that long and has lasted and has gone through the tests of time is clearly a product that people like. Okay. Now, this I have to ask, what new products do you people have in mind? Because you live in a world where there is competition.
Correct.
And if you're doing something right, somebody will see it, they will know it, and they will copy. Or they will present, let me call it, competition. So, what is it that Kiwi is doing to ensure that they stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, look, we have the privilege of working for a global company, and we have teams across the globe looking at trends and what's happening in terms of consumer trends. And yes, it might not be as, pretty or as exciting as, I don't know, like other products like shoes shoes is as an example in terms of like new designs or whatever. But we have teams that are constantly monitoring these trends, and they feed those down to the African market and say, okay, cool guys, we foresee opportunities in this way. So in terms of our planning, every year we sit and say, what are the trends and how do those feed into the current product range that we have, and how can we evolve that? And then we evaluate if the opportunity is big enough. And hence I say is that in I think in South Africa, we launched a couple of years ago, was a sneaker cleaner range, because we identified it as an opportunity, right? And if the opportunity is big enough within whatever market or whatever country, we'll definitely go into that market and say, guys, we are the brand in terms of stepping up and showing up for your shoe care products and other products that you can use as a lateral product. Here's a product offering for you. So so we're constantly evaluating what the consumer needs are and seeing how we can meet up to those consumer needs, for sure.
In a time gone by, that is the time again of my youth, formal shoes were of necessity brown or black. That has changed completely. I see people wearing sneakers with formal wear. I see purple shoes. I see orange shoes. I see all sorts of colors represented in shoes.
Yeah.
And it isn't, you see, it was an oddity at first. It's no longer an oddity. I've seen enough of that for me to consider it normal now. Now, it is with that in mind that I asked the question, because it is clear that there's a generation, yes, who may have the traditional black or brown shoe, but they don't necessarily favor those. Those they keep for some occasion, like a funeral or something. Okay? Now, for the everyday wear, because that's where now the product comes in handy. Because if you're not using the product, if you're not having something that the product now acts as an accessory for, it has been a daily basis. Now, so it's with that in mind that I asked the question.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why, to your previous question, why we don't just offer black paste, right? We've got a range of products that meet these consumer demands, whether it's a neutral paste or whether it's a liquid or whatever. So to answer you is that we have a range of products that speak to these consumer needs, right? And as I say it, is that we constantly sort of check to see what's happening. So do we need a sneaker cleaning product? Maybe. Is the opportunity big enough for us as a brand? Maybe. And then we launched that product. And my job and the team's job is to make sure that we do a good enough job in terms of communicating that product and making sure that we are there for those consumer needs.
Right. See, my observation about product production globally is that people start off as being manufacturers of one product, and then they branch off. For instance, we're talking about shoe polish, but there's also nail polish.
Okay. Slightly different product.
Well, I speak from a position of ignorance.
Okay, yeah, clearly.
Yes.
It is evident. Please, your question.
I'm simply saying that I look at companies that started off as producers of one thing, and over time they will tell you, well, this is within the same range. Now, maybe not Kiwi, but SC Johnson. What else do they produce?
Esther, go for it.
I thought that's what you were trying to ask, but in such a long route.
I am a storyteller.
Clearly. So we also do home cleaning products. We are the manufacturers of Pledge surface cleaner, Glade air freshener, that's air care, and also pest control. We do Baygon and Raid. And we sell all that here.
Yes. I've come across them.
Yes.
I've even used some of those products. That's how I'm nodding and I'm saying, so that's you guys.
Yes.
So that's Kiwi.
That's SC Johnson. And Kiwi is a product.
And to tell the story in a form that you might enjoy, is that the Johnson company started as a wax floor polish cleaner manufacturer. And we've evolved into many other products. So soon after, there was furniture care products, and then home cleaning products like Glade, Mr. Muscle, and so on and so on. And then soon acquired Kiwi. So yes, so to your point is that the company has evolved beyond just what we started as, which was a wax floor cleaner for parquet floors and wooden floors and whatever, to a multifaceted company that produces multiple companies and is constantly looking to innovate into spaces that consumers have a need for products. Yeah.
All right. I mean, winding down this conversation, but obviously, Step Up and Shine campaign still continues. If I win this 35,000 shillings, for example, am I allowed to have this 35 shillings go towards
35,000?
35,000.
Yes, you said 35 shillings.
35,000 shillings. Am I allowed to have this 35,000 shillings go to a child that I nominate? Maybe if one person wins and they don't have a child, for example, who is in school, can that go to somebody else? How would that work?
You nominate the person, so you'll let us know who. We've actually had such an instant where a brother paid school fees for his younger brother. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So fantastic. So again, I call to. So what exactly are we asking people to do once again, even as we go out into this, to do this over the next couple of weeks, and what kind of timelines are we looking at? For what period of time? Until when will this continue?
Okay, so we are telling our customers, go to any store, go to any kiosk. We are all over the country. Go buy your Kiwi black polish. You'll get a sticker. and a code beneath the lid, and then you put in the USSD code. You dial *459 *5#. Again, *459 *5#. You will instantly win credits, and then you'll get a chance to get into the monthly draws for school fees. That's weekly. Weekly draw for school fees.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long does this go for? Until when do people have an opportunity to do this?
Until the 7th of February.
Yeah, so the campaign kicked off a few weeks ago, beginning of November, and we're going to continue until the 7th of February. That's with the idea of that's the critical time in terms of going back to school. So over the next 3 months, that's when the campaign will be running.
Okay. There's opportunity for you to step up and shine with Kiwi. Thank you for coming into the studio today. I mean, just to give a broader vision into all of this and how it's going to actually come out and work. And then just, it would be nice to hear what, a final message is to young people who are in school, their parents who are looking for kind of like a break from, this tough stuff that's been going on, as we wind this down.
Yeah. I think sort of as last words, I think, as we said, as a brand, we are there for consumers in their sort of moments of stepping up and shining, whether it's showing up to your first day in school, your first day in high school, your first day in your new job, even over the festive season when you are going to a Christmas party and you need to look your best, because we understand that looking your best helps in feeling good, and as a brand we want to be there for those moments that mean the most to you and you can look back and reflect on in a positive way. But again, more than anything, it's buy your tin of Kiwi, specially marked. You will get instant airtime, and then via USSD, and then you will be entered automatically into the draw to stand a chance to win 35,000 Kenya shilling. You will be called by our great team on Radio Maisha, and your family and friends will get to hear you and sort of enjoy in that moment of you winning that prize as well. But more than anything, yes, we are grateful to the Kiwi consumer, and hopefully they can stay with us for forever and ever.
Indeed. Paris, Esther and Hololang, thank you for joining us this morning and getting into this and seeing how we can support and helping, taking some of the burden off and really continuing to shout out about a really great brand, Kiwi, that has been with us for so long. Asante Sana, and thank you for being on the hot seat in the Situation Room this morning. Imagine those wonderful moments being captured by the Samsung Flip Z4 and giving you an opportunity to capture those great moments with your technology companion. And Samsung is saying for Black November until the 7th, you can get a great discount where you can buy this phone at 37,000 shillings, 37,500 shillings off. So 112,500 shillings will allow you to buy the Samsung Z Flip 4 and get and capture great moments such as this where you can step up and shine. How about that? Conversations continue on Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, now looking into professionalization. That's a tongue twister, but we'll be doing that after 9 o'clock, right after the news. Conversations continue. Nduoko and CT Muga with you in the studio today. And as we come back and continue with that, we thank you for joining us and keeping in touch on our live streams.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has officially appointed and gazetted the names of 51 principal secretaries who were vetted and approved by the National Assembly Thursday. The gazettement of the PSS paves the way for the swearing-in which is scheduled to take place today at State House, Nairobi. Thursday, the National Assembly approved the vetting reports presented by various departmental committees that carried out the vetting process of the 51 nominees. Although the minority side questioned the manner in which the vetting and approval of the principal secretaries was rushed, the Kenya Kwanza side, led by a majority leader Kimani Ichung'wah, defended the move, saying the government needed their services in their respective ministries. The vetting of the PSs had been delayed by a petition filed by the Law Society of Kenya, which was however dismissed by the court on grounds that it was filed prematurely. The Law Society of Kenya had moved to court seeking to bar the National Assembly from proceeding with the vetting, saying that the list lacked gender balance, tribal balance and regional balance. Justice Lumanderi Tuesday, however, dismissed cases blocking the vetting of the 51 PSs, saying that they had been filed prematurely. Now, the Judicial Service Commission has shortlisted 20 candidates for appointment as High Court judges. Chief Justice Martha Koome, in a notice, said the JSC had formulated the list following a thorough vetting exercise for the position as advertised early this year on March 13th. She said the names of successful nominees had already been forwarded to President William Ruto, awaiting approval. And the vetting of Nairobi County Executive Committee members will now proceed after the Employment and Labour Relations Court dismissed a suit challenging the exercise. The 10 CECs appointed by Governor Johnson Sakaja will be vetted by the Nairobi County Assembly starting next week after the County Assembly clerk releases the vetting schedule. The Petitioners Association of Muslims, Lawyers and Nubian Rights Forum wanted the exercise quashed on grounds that the governor's list was discriminatory as no Muslim featured in the appointments. In the response, the governor, through his lawyer Duncan Okach, opposed the allegations, arguing that the agenda of the petitioners was to use the suit to create an imaginary religious rift which he observed to be dangerous trajectory. Justice Anne Moure, while dismissing the suit, terming it premature, also adding that there was no evidence adduced to show that the members of those communities made application for the various positions and were not considered on the basis of religion. She also noted that the governor followed all the laid out procedures in making the appointments. And Muslim clerics in Tana River have vowed to lead an onslaught against female genital mutilation by delinking it from Islamic doctrines. According to the Kenya Demographic Health Survey 2014, 51% of Muslim women are more likely to have been circumcised than women from other religious groups. Plan International and the Office of Tana River County Commissioner held one-day training of Muslim clerics drawn from Tana River and Galadietu sub-counties in Hola. Mohammed Argamaso, a religious leader from Wayu location, revealed his 8 daughters were circumcised without his outright permission, resulting in health complications. And Kenya is seeking to zero-rate VAT in vegetable seeds to reduce the cost of production. Livestock Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai says talks are at an advanced stage with the National Treasury to waive tax on vegetable seeds. Kenya imports vegetable worth about 4 billion shillings, mainly from neighboring countries. Value chain players say vegetables from Uganda and Tanzania are cheaper due to lower cost of production, as seeds in those countries are zero-rated. The government now plans to zero-rate VAT on vegetable seeds to reduce imports and make Kenya's produce competitive. Some farmers have resorted to buying seeds from neighboring countries for the fueling counterfeit seeds that affect yield. And the World Health Organization report indicates a slowdown in the progress made during the past decade against maternal and infant mortality rate in the African region. The Atlas of African Health Statistics 2022 assessed the 9 targets related to the Sustainable Development Goals on health and found that the current pace, increased investment is needed to accelerate progress on the targets. Among the most difficult to achieve will be reducing maternal mortality. A statement from WHO Regional Office for Africa indicates that according to the Atlas 2022 report, in sub-Saharan Africa, it is estimated that 390 women will die in childbirth for every 100,000 live births by 2030. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The Spice Newswire is brought to you by Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Go ahead and get yours today. It's your time.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Sasa baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, at a few minutes after 8 o'clock, it's still, actually 9 o'clock, it still continues, and traffic is actually not so bad in many parts of the city this morning. We're looking at it coming off a thicker superhighway, seems to be dwindling, so this is good. Actually, not much traffic there. If you still want to use the service lanes, that's all right, but you're not going to find much traffic on the main highway. Okay, actually, I take that back. There's a bit of a stretch where it's bumper to bumper, likely to fizzle out in a short while. Kiambu Road is also looking pretty heavy as you're going towards Muthaiga Square, and that continues for some time as well. Uhuru Highway, very busy as you're getting towards that Haile Selassie junction. And we'll see traffic continuing into the city, coming out of Westlands, pretty heavy as well. And also coming off Mombasa Road. And we're looking at Uhuru Highway from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out towards that junction. Jogo Road also busy. We're looking at Lunga, Likoni and Lusaka busy as well as you're touching on that Likoni interchange, then coming in contact with the Southern Bypass. Okay, coming out of traffic hour in not too long from now. Let's try as much as possible to keep things moving. Outbound traffic of the city completely looks like it's going to be heavy for most parts of Friday. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's talk there in an attempt to keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif.
Into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Friday, the 2nd of December. Good morning. And for those of us who are joining us online and in different parts, karibuni sana. The conversation continues this hour. And as we get into that, CT wants to tell us about how he can, give us fantastic stories of his Samsung 8.
One of the things about a product that has serious value, the wahenga of the Swahili nation and who came up with proverbs to suit every occasion said, Kizuri chajiuza. I don't have my tablet with me because somebody borrowed it, ostensibly to return it. Yes, it's not just your, but they borrowed it to return it. Immediately after.
It's usually immediately.
Yes, now immediately after, they haven't returned it.
Okay.
Nonetheless, that particular product, it's called a Galaxy Tab, Samsung Galaxy S8 Ultra. Clarity like nothing you've ever seen. It's like you get the impression that you're seeing something for the first time and yet you've seen it before. Nonetheless, I have the proverb at hand, so even though the tablet isn't here and the proverb was in the tablet,
yes,
I can tell you about the proverb. The proverbs we've been talking about and presenting this week are from the country of Guinea. Now, if you listen to the program early on, I was distinguishing this country with other countries that also have Guinea attached to your name. This is not Equatorial Guinea. It's not Guinea-Bissau. It's not Papua New Guinea. It's just Guinea. Okay? Now the proverb. The bitter heart eats its owner.
The bitter heart eats its owner.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you have a bitter heart, it equals being consumed.
Okay.
Okay.
If you want to be consumed,
equals
being
bitter heart. So you just carry on and look for a bitter heart and have it and see what happens to you. Yes.
Okay. So before we introduce our guests, now that there's that bitterness, let me tell you about something that could be really, really sweet. Centum, where we visited, a couple of weeks ago, talking about owning a home with Centum Real Estate along the super highway. Remember that? Now, this week, we're telling you about how they're making it easier for you to acquire a home at Two Rivers. The mixed property, there's commercial and residential, and there's an opportunity for you to live right next to luxury. It's 102 acres of development and remarkably one of the best master plan developments in Nairobi's Blue Diplomatic Zone. It's a place to enjoy, live, work and play. The level of urban infrastructure at Two Rivers is just what you need for your home. It's the largest private water treatment and it's on standby for you to meet all your water needs, and there's an in-house power substation for power reliability, including backup. There's a 5G hotspot for internet needs and the best security systems for your safety. I mean,
surely
what really do I even need to
say more?
I needn't say more, but maybe those who will be able to say more who are with us in the studio today as we come into our final conversation for this hour. We're looking at professionalism of the supply chain sector and the Spurs Awards. There are Spurs Awards. Jeremiah Nthusi is the chair of the Professional Standards Committee of the KCSE Council, KCSE being the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management. And he's here with us today. Good morning, Jeremiah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Karibu sana. Moses Omondi is the chair of the Registration and Licensing Committee of the KCSE Council as well. Good to have you in the studio this morning. Good morning.
Thank you for good morning.
Karibu sana. So, professionalism in supply chain management, one would assume, let's just start from the very beginning. Supply chain management, what's that?
A good question. Supply chain management really encompasses a lot of activities that run all the way from the time you're sourcing raw materials all the way up to the time the consumer gets the end product. So all those many activities in between define supply chain management.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We are talking about getting to the supplier. We are talking about looking at the materials that you require, then bidding for it, all the way until the materials are being delivered to you. Then they are being distributed so that they can be able to reach the final consumer. The whole process is about supply chain management.
You know, I'm a consumer of history. I love history. I love history. I am aware that I represent something historical, which is the previous century, but it gives relevance to it. How did this particular discipline start and how did it evolve? How did it become an institute?
A sector even.
Thank you. How did it get to the position that it's in now, that it's fundamental to almost anything that you talk of? How? Where did it start? What brought about the need? Well, either of you can actually respond to that.
I think supply chain management, or rather discipline, is as old as mankind. You remember, even those old days, even the biblical times, even at the time of building the Tower of Babylon, you remember the way people would assemble all those materials, collecting the materials, pushing over to the other people, and there are other people waiting up there. So that whole supply process is actually the chain. until the material reaches the final consumer.
Okay.
I think in addition to that, and when you draw parallel to military activities, military planning, requirement for firepower, the planning for bullets, planning for movement, planning for distribution, was an aspect that they called logistics, so which is a subset of supply chain. And I think out of that, the fulfillment of the requirements within that chain, which means what my colleague has said, sourcing of the raw materials, the acquisition itself, storage and inventory management, the operations and add-ons on what they would need, including putting powder onto the gun and all that. The movement, and especially now, like we have an issue to do with Ukraine and Russia, the movement of the military tanks and all that until it achieves its intended need is what you can consider supply chain. But closer home, I think supply chain of procurement was domiciled in the accounts department in the recent history, I think in the 80s. And that is how then, within the accounts department, their key role was stock management. And so we had people called stores officers who were now drawn out of the back burner into visibility and now started being given the assignment of procuring and storing. And we realized within that there is a lot more than just a tool. So easily that could be our intro.
So are we saying that when you talk about a procurement officer, because my mindset is still are we saying that this is a supply chain manager?
Yes, for all intent and purposes. When I say manager, because it is a strategic role. Supply chain is a strategic role. And I think a key example is, recently when we had COVID, there was a struggle because supplies were not coming into the country. And of course, the issue was China. China locked out because of COVID. Being the factory of the world, could not supply the needs in the entire world. And so with that, we realized that supply chain is a really strategic function that a procurement officer, so to speak, as you call them, has actually serious strategic and management roles and responsibilities. I actually equate supply chain to breathing. You know, we don't realize that we're breathing. But the moment there's a challenge, when you start choking is when you realize, whoa, this thing is
this breathing
serious.
is important.
Yes. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about the journey towards the professionalization of the supply chain sector, then it's alluding to the possibility of there being unprofessional practice in the sector. Is that the case?
What we could start looking at is the way the function used to be. Those old days before we got the kind of legal framework that we have today. For example, in the public sector, this function used to be done by administrators, accountants, HR people, name them. Until 2005, when we had the Public Procurement Disposal Act. And thereafter, immediately thereafter, 2007, we got the Supply Practitioners Management Act, 2007. So you can imagine, before that, everybody could just do procurement. But procurement is actually a process. It's not instantaneous. So to the extent that there is a process that is being supervised from point A to Z, then that's how you call that procurement management. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So has it been unprofessional in nature, or have we just had, the sector there's been wanton, people who are practitioners within the sector have been basically operating in a manner in which they choose. And when you're talking about asking that the sector then be professionalized, then again, there's the connotation that people are doing things willy-nilly.
Initially, it was not a profession.
Okay.
It was just a function being done by people in dockets like human resource management, accounting, or even any other person who could just think about bringing on board materials Yeah, to an extent that we never used to see a lot of difference between procurement and purchasing. To everybody, those things meant the same.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the moment when it became a profession in this country, we were meant to understand that procurement really is a process.
Mm-hmm.
From the point you are identifying the need, you come to do the sourcing process, the bidding process, you evaluate all those tenders, you award, and then the materials are being now delivered.
Mm-hmm.
And you are managing that whole flow.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is the management aspect of procurement, which is actually a process.
You know, the profession that we as laymen refer to as procurement has the unfortunate distinction in this country of having a terrible reputation.
Yep.
Almost every ill that one speak of procurement. And just when you think that you've gotten out of the waters, there'll be an incident that brings that particular discipline into the limelight. In fact, I would not call it limelight, into the dark light yet again. Okay? You will find that almost every aspect of our lives, the things we've referred to as the major scandals in this country, think of it, whichever it is, Goldenberg, not so Goldenberg, all of them, procurement or aspects of it were somewhere in the middle of it. Now, when you say you want to professionalize it, every profession known to mankind is run by human beings. And for a reputation that negative to be furthered, it means human beings behaved in a way that brought about that disrepute. So, over to you. This professionalism, this accrediting, this processes that now seeks to bring this particular discipline into the realm of other professions, what is it that you people have proposed to do, and what have you done to ensure that the stink of the past becomes precisely that, a think of the past?
Yeah, and thank you for that question. I think it's a question that is prevalent in actually all professions.
Yes.
But what you say also brings into centrality the role of procurement. Because every other issue that comes out, there'll always be procurement at the center of it. It indicates it's a central role, supply chain rather, is a central role. And within the role, there are various actors. Because, for example, supply chain professionals will be looking at the sourcing aspects of it and delivery of the need. There will be other cross-functional teams, for example, technical teams, engineers, so to speak, accountants who are custodians of the finances. The technical teams are the developers of the specifications for the needs that's required. The reason supply chain many times comes into the limelight is that we were the facilitators in that process. And yes, I agree that yes, there has been unprofessional conduct. Relativity is very important. We have so many good supply chain professionals in the country. However, just like any other profession, we have a few that keep tainting us. If we were to look at the percentage, roughly, possibly 5%, so to speak, but that small percentage brings about a very huge taint. And so what have we done in terms of that? And I think my colleague alluded to the fact that first in 2007, we got our enabling law, which is the Supplies Management Practitioners Act, SPMA 2007. Within that, it created various regulations, frameworks, under which a professional should operate. Respectively for the role that I handle, registration and licensing. The SPMA Section 16 and Section 20. Section 16 requires that every person who practices supply chain in the country is actually registered with the institute. So that's one initial control. Secondly, and that means you're a member of an association. Secondly, in Section 20, it requires that you have a practicing license. A practicing license, just like a medical doctor, engineer, architect, etc., etc. So in our journey, which started way back in 2005, just up until recently is when we now got sufficient teeth with, because for the very first time we had a substantive counsel And in the last 2 years, we've been able to push through compliance notices to accounting officers and key stakeholders, including Minister, National Treasury, whose the institute is actually what we call is under the National Treasury in that sense. And so out of that, we have written compliance notices and required that members comply with that. We've gotten significant success. In addition, we've gone out to publish for the very first time a list of licensed practitioners in the Kenya Gazette, which is that one source of reference that someone can want to look at and say, individual X is a supply chain practitioner. Is he listed as someone legally allowed to practice supply chain in the country?
Okay.
So that's part of the effort that we're continuing to advocate for and ring-fence the profession, so that we're able to separate and sieve those good ones and easily also say this one is not our member. Remember, it's a supply chain. There are many stakeholders, and there are people who within the process create those scandals, but they're not within our ambit supply chain.
Okay.
Yes.
So break it down just a little bit for us to understand. We're talking about this need to have a practicing license.
Yes.
So that means if person X has gone to school to study whatever it may be,
correct,
commerce, whatever, they come out and they apply for a job, happens to be in supply chain for an institution or an organization, even for government. We are saying that this individual must have the license from the relevant authority to then practice whether or not they are working under somebody or for themselves.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, who gives the license?
The institute. I actually chair the committee that issues out the license.
Yes.
All right.
And so what are you looking for in order to grant these individuals a license?
You must have an academic qualification. And then on top of that, you must have a professional practice qualification, a professional certification. And there are many in the market. We actually have our own certification, which is called CPSPK, Certified Procurement Professional of Kenya, equivalent to CPA K in that sense. So you must have that for you to be admitted as a member, in addition to the academic requirements. Once you have that, you're enlisted as a member, then we will go ahead and issue with a license. The license is to practice, meaning when jobs are being advertised, opportunities are being advertised, a key requirement is that you must be a member of the institute and licensed for you to onboard onto that job. That already creates a control tool for us, for any practitioner. And then we have a recourse because we have a disciplinary committee in the event that there are issues with that individual.
All right.
Yeah.
And what is this individual essentially doing for an organization? What is this person who works as, what are they? Supply chain managers, officers, whatever they are. What are they essentially doing for an organization?
Okay. You are aware that organizations have their objectives that they have to meet. And for them to meet these objectives, they have to be facilitated because they need services, they need materials, they need works so that they can be able to discharge their mandate. So it is this procurement officer or the supply chain management officer rather who is supposed to facilitate and ensure that all these materials are availed. In fact, the act that we are talking about recognizes that nobody in this country should participate as a procurement person unless this person is registered and licensed to carry on that task. In fact, the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supplies, UK, puts it very clear that you can do all manner of things in the name of procurement. But to the extent that you are not a professional, then ideally that is not procurement. That is not procurement. If it has not been done by a certified procurement officer, then that is not a procurement process.
Okay. Certification. Do ask the question, and I want to belabor the point.
Yep.
Where do you start off before you even get to the point where you can be certified?
Of course, the background is that the academic qualifications. You've gone through college, university, and you have, preferably, you have a supply chain management course.
At what level?
At college level, university level.
When I ask level, diploma level, certificate level,
or minimum requirements. Minimum requirement according to our act is diploma level.
Is that not discriminating?
In kindly guide, in what sense?
Not everyone can afford to get a diploma, and yet they may be interested. And if a certificate course is offered, you don't qualify.
The idea behind that is that we do not deny you to become a member of the institute, because we have categories of membership. Student category, this is someone working towards that. Then we have associate level category, where you are possibly having a job role, but you're working towards full qualification. And then we have the full member category. So there is no discrimination in that sense, it's taken care of. The idea is to keep you pushing towards higher learning, higher knowledge.
As you acquire skills, as you acquire knowledge, then you get to the point where now you can become a full member.
Correct.
Okay. Can we take a break? And then I see that question will just sit on your tongue for just a minute. Let's take a break and we come back and continue this. And I know that biting question will come. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Professionalizing the supply chain sector in the country continues after this.
It's a magical Christmas at Westgate Shopping Mall. Spend 1,000 Kenya shillings and above and stand to win an all-inclusive Mediterranean cruise to the most beautiful cities in Europe. Visit Rome, Venice, Barcelona, and get to bring someone with you. You also have the chance to win once-in-a-lifetime balloon safari over the Masai Mara and a luxury stay at Marangeche Camp, and the opportunity to win 500,000 worth of luxury furniture from Queen Picks. It's magical, and it's all yours to experience simply by shopping at Westgate Shopping Mall.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice! I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me. It's God now, my mom's prayers.
Join me, Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute every single weekday.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, 19 degrees and cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 25 and we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Nakuru at 18. It's 16 and sunny in Nyeri. We'll see highs of 24 and we'll see highs of 25 in Eldoret, where it's partly sunny at 19. 30 and sunny conditions in Mombasa, highs of 32 and highs of 31 in Malindi, where it's sunny at 30. 24 and partly sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 31 in a partly sunny Kakamega. It's 23 and sunny conditions in Kampala, highs of of 26 and highs of 31 in a partly sunny Dar es Salaam at 28. It's sunny at 20 in Johannesburg, highs of 28 and lows of 15. And we'll see lows of 24 in a sunny Lagos at 25. It'll go to highs of 30 in a sunny Kinshasa, currently at 25. It's -2 going into Friday evening in Beijing. 0 will be the high and lows of -8. And we'll see highs of 5 in a cloudy Paris, highs of 8 in a cloudy London. And it's 2 degrees Thursday night in New York. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 8 and lows of 1.
Chilled Spice.
I think we'll be out of traffic hour in not too long from now. We're still seeing a little bit of the leftover morning traffic on the thicker superhighway coming into the city, but it won't be anything that will drive us absolutely crazy. Still some traffic on Uhuru Highway getting out towards that Haile Selassie junction. Most of our traffic today has been outbound traffic as a lot of folks leaving the city for the weekend. Hoorah, hoorah. On Jogo Road, it's still busy, and you're going to get out towards Landis, which is busy going towards Kamkunji, and we'll see that action for some time. Apart from that, everything else seems to be at manageable levels. Traffic hour comes to end right about now. We'll see what happens through the rest of the morning. Talk to us through the day on SpiceFM KE on Twitter to keep things moving this Friday.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
To the top of the hour to 10 o'clock, our conversations this morning continue. We are talking with Jeremiah Thusi and Moses Omondi, and on committees from the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, and we're looking at the journey towards the professionalization of the supply chain sector and CT. The question was burning your tongue.
Well, yes, it was. You see, when you talk of supply chain matters, see, my mind went to something perhaps which was, should we say, well, it's supply chain in a sense, but it has to do with intellectual property. Once upon a time, there was a company called Enron. Massive scandal.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I look at the service that they were providing as having been sourced. Now, the question I'm asking, I have 3 questions. So this is the first one. Does this fall under supply chain when you seek professional participation in your business? If I look for an accountant, if I look for an auditing firm, if I look for an engineer.
Yes, you are quite right, because professional services are a part of what supply chain management officers procure. But again, we are also guided in the way we procure some of these services.
Okay.
And again, the people that are providing those kind of services are also obligated to ensure that even as they deliver this service, they are also guided by the provisions that guide
their particular profession.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you look at the audit issues around the way those books used to be doctored there, then, and that is why the professional body now had to whip the professional body that supervises those accountants had to whip the auditors. And if we come back to our country here,
yes,
you find that the scope of the supply chain management is so expansive.
It is.
It is quite expansive, because almost everything is actually falling within the supply chain management.
Yes, it does.
We are talking about the acquisition of those goods, managing issues like doing rentals, doing leasing, even when you look at the problem that occurs some time back with respect to acquisition of land here in Nairobi City, So it's quite expansive. But what we are saying is that for us to have a very smooth flow, we need to professionalize the supply chain management itself so that whoever is participating in facilitating the process is a registered and qualified supply chain officer. Because already the law is there. It criminalizes anybody who puts some employees to work and deliver on supply chain management, and this person is not qualified.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a direct human element. This is where my concern is.
Yes.
This forms now part of the second question, which is really a two-in-one.
Yeah.
I am looking at the world of manufacturing, and I'm looking at issues that have arisen in the not-too-distant past with regards to not just the place where the goods and services are manufactured, but the people, child labor specifically.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at how it is that the UK then passed in 2015 the Modern Slavery Act. Okay?
Yeah.
It was a response to some of these things. And I'm looking at some of the issues that rose with manufacturers, say like Nike, Marks and Spencer. It's not that the product was not good, but the people who are involved in their production.
Yes.
So now, when you talk about professionalism in this country, and I look at the manufacturing sector, the condition in which the human beings who produce these things work.
Yeah.
Is this one of the things that your institute looks into?
It is because we are looking at the standards that guide the profession. So there are those principles that must guide us whenever we are doing procurement. So that when you are dealing with those manufacturers, there must be a criteria that you will put in the tender document, for example, so that you are sure issues around human rights, issues around environmental
sustainability,
impact are also taken care of, so that it would not make sense for you to procure goods from even a manufacturer who is not even tax compliant. We want people who also respect the existing laws, so that when we are dealing with them, we can see for sure that these are also clean business citizens. All those are parameters that we consider when we are doing procurement. We must be sure that your procurement processes are that ethical. How is the quality around the raw materials that you input into the system? Those are issues that concern us as procurement people.
Okay.
And those are factored in the specifications that we must put in the tendering document.
Okay. We can't run away from the fact that whether we're comfortable talking about it or not, is that unfortunately, from what we've seen, whether it be hearsay or actual fact, that a lot of corruption that takes place, whether it is at government level, whether it is at private institutional level, happens through these very offices that we are trying to professionalize. Correct. That the individuals who sit in those seats are often depended upon to make sure that things go under the table or under the carpet. These could be professionals in their own right. They would have passed the mark. They would have gotten the certification. But unfortunately, we cannot legislate for morality. We cannot professionalize for morality.
Yeah.
That happens at a very high level.
Yes.
How do you deal with those issues? Because it all chalks up to professionalizing the sector.
First of all, we have to appreciate from where we started. And we said that procurement itself is a process. Look at where we are starting. This is the item that we want to procure. So it gives us the specifications. He's the user. He's not a procurement specialist. So there are so many players that play their roles along the chain. But we are also involved at some stages. There are so many stakeholders. So what we are saying is that every stakeholder who is participating a role in the whole process must play his or her role right. We as a professional body have taken charge of our people. We are telling them that when you are opening the tender, this is how we go about it. But remember, even the opening of the tender involves other stakeholders, apart, in addition to the supply chain people. When it comes to evaluating those tenders again, the users, the technical people are there. The procurement person is seated there, will give guidelines, but is there to just facilitate taking minutes. Okay? The decision makers are these other evaluators. I don't know if I'm communicating.
You're communicating.
We leave that process and we award the tender through the due process. Then if there are materials being delivered, say computers, for example, there is the inspection and acceptance process where again we have a committee. And this committee comprises those technical people, because you may not have the capacity to say whether this gadget meets the specs or not. It's the technical person who is supposed to raise the necessary certification and assure that this item is okay. It's like when you are procuring drugs, for example. Unless you have the necessary qualifications, even the procurement person himself may not ascertain as to the authenticity and the quality of this drug.
I think possibly in addition to, and I like what you say, you cannot legislate morality.
Yeah.
There is, in as much as we give technical capacity, we license, and we enable professionals to practice, there is a part that is, at the end of the day, an individual responsibility.
Right.
And that's where now, I think in many ways determines a professional. And I think what you're trying to do is to build capacity on what we call softer skills, fortitude, for you to withstand influence and still be able to deliver what is right for the country. It is it's a tricky thing in the sense that we have many actors. You imagine in the chain, and we call it a chain. We have accountants, we have engineers in that process, we have supply chain professionals in that process. However, because we are the ones who are the tail end, releasing the professional opinion and the final decision in terms of contracting with the accounting officer, that last part is what the two final actors need to have fortitude to do what's right for the country. And it's a matter of morality, because you don't lack the technical skills, you don't lack the qualifications, you don't lack the licensure. And this is where you must now determine, in many ways, patriotism to do what's right.
I'm going to place some huge responsibility on those shoulders and ask the question. Yes. The money that we've seen lost, a lot of it comes through these channels.
Yes.
Do you think that with professionalizing this sector, that it's possible to gain on the losses that we've made in terms of loss of funds through corruption? Because that's what it is.
Yes, and I think it's a process. I think we're coming from somewhere where there was a lot more being lost, and we're closing in on that. I think statistics indicate almost 30% of government budget is lost through, and also really even sometimes private sector, is lost through the procurement process. Possibly that is reducing, but the other suggestions would be possibly taking a multi-professional body approach in terms of clamping down on individual professional players within the chain, not just the supply chain. And those are collaborations we can seek in terms of trying to cut back on corruption. But ultimately, there is also the issue of top leadership in the country, and many times the tone must come from there. Of course, in setting the process very clear that we are a corruption-free society in that sense.
Are there some untouchables in the sector? I ask that because in as much as it's a huge sector, I believe that everybody's known at some level. And because of the sensitivities or the intricacies of the sector, that there's some people then who will become notorious, but you cannot touch them, as is often the case with matters corruption in some areas. So within the sector, even as you try to professionalize it, does it make it more difficult if they're untouchables?
Within it's a good question. And within the sector, I don't want to say they're untouchables because we have legislation, we have regulations, and we have a disciplinary process internally. And if cases are brought in, they can also be handled at that level.
Okay.
However, we've also seen on the flip side, what we can call unwarranted singling out of our professionals in a chain process. And perhaps we find sometimes that within other sectors, I'm not trying to run away from responsibilities, we find that there are challenges, and that's why I was advocating for a multi-professional body approach. Ultimately, the law, when applied properly, will bring out people who are corrupt within the process. It may not be now, but in the long haul, they always come out.
When the Uhuru Ruto government took over, one of the most glaring things that happened, if I recall correctly, was the president then suspended within government service procurement officers, meaning they were told, they were singled out. Now, dramatic as it was, I think the understanding was because of the constant issues that have to do with alleged corruption, real or imagined, that was within government. I say drama because, in my opinion, it didn't get to the heart of the matter. Okay? Because a procurement officer in a government setup is going to be following instructions. Now, they may have their own inclination, but you can't tell where the inclination starts and where it ends because there's someone who is issuing instructions beyond them. Okay? Yes, you have disciplinary processes, but how effective are they? How do you deal with complaints? If I have a problem with somebody who represents your profession and is even certified and whatever legal processes you have to ensure that they're a legal member of your association, if one has a complaint, how does one go about complaining? And then how does one get to the point where one understands that the issues that they raised have been addressed? And lastly, how then do we know that these issues are addressed with an element of permanency? Because sacking someone doesn't address the issue, if you ask me.
I think generally there is a perception.
Yes.
We can't rule that out. That if we walk to some place and we introduce ourselves and we talk about our titles. So Moses says he's a pastor. Let's say I'm a procurement officer. You'll see the eyebrows.
Yes.
So I think that negative perception.
But you know, my brother, you shouldn't worry too much. The pastors are catching up with you.
They might actually be swimming in the same pool.
So, but we should not lament. A lot has been happening. Even during that time when people had to step aside, a lot of investigations were done. But fortunately, all the procurement people were taught to go back to their offices. And even up to now, there are some officers from the other dockets, finance, accounting, who still have issues. But what we are saying is that corruption is not a one-man show. It's a collective effort. And especially looking at what we have described as a process. And that's why Moses was saying we need some kind of a multi-approach so that all these other professional bodies come together. And right now we have a lot of collaboration with the accountants, with the HRM. In fact, we even have annual conferences where all those professions are confronting issues together. I think that is the way forward so that we can be able to read from the same script. If you look at what is happening today, the investigative agencies, they have employed people from all disciplines. Procurement people are investigators. We also have engineers. We also have accountants. And why? because most of these problems could happen at a certain stage. This problem could be at the payment level, where you are squarely dealing with the accountant. Where you are dealing with the procurement process, we need an expert there, so that when you send him to my office, he can be able to run with the process from where I started running with the procurement up to where it ended. It is the supply chain expert who can be able to unearth issues that are hidden there.
We agree, but the multi-sectoral approach also gives an opportunity for people to hide. Because then, in as much as you're collaborating, then you keep passing the buck.
It is multi-sectoral, but individual ownership within your respective profession still remains in that sense. And I think, yes, a good question as well. But the other thing is that we would also in many ways humbly invite the fourth estate to support us in advocating what is also good. Many times...
Like what, for instance?
Yes, and I'll give a good example. During COVID, many public offices and even in private institutions actually put in a lot to build in capacity, bedding capacity in many counties in the country. That improved our ability to handle patients as a country. It was highlighted yet, but it almost died on. But that, we sometimes forget the work that was put by the professionals to highlight good in the midst of difficult circumstances. And there are many infrastructure development. All this has been done here through the hands of supply chain professionals.
I agree completely.
So we need to feature that in a balanced way. Yes, we agree that there are some people who are not really.
I agree, but there's a Kenyan mindset.
Yes.
Which seeks to find, and I'm going to use the word excuse, in someone performing their duties. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay?
Correct.
The time when we praise you is when it's exemplary.
Yes.
And it's consistently exemplary.
Exemplary.
You say, this is this. But if it's just what you're supposed to do, and the discussions about gaps take a bigger center stage than the good that you do, then it means you need to clean up your house. You see, literally every discipline or association has a communication wing in this day and age.
Correct.
So, if that message isn't coming out, again, now let me make this sort of statement that you made. It is not that the fourth escape is running away from its mandate, but it is assisted greatly when we also get the information that we can put
Excellent.
forth.
Excellent.
Yes. We can't guess at it. We can't cobble it up. You have to give us that information, just like you're doing now.
Correct.
Yes.
Then it becomes easier for us to be able to consume it and then say, looking at this, perhaps the perspective ought to be this.
Correct.
Indeed. Great to hear
I
that.
totally support you because information is power. Without information, you are likely to crucify somebody who is very innocent.
Sure.
When something happens, the whole procurement process, and probably it is something to do with an engineer who came and maybe certified works to be quite okay. But to the extent that is a procurement
process.
Yes.
Project, then you see, Moses, the procurement officer,
is the one
has messed up everything. So what we need to do is a very deliberate way of sensitizing our people so that they can be able to appreciate the kind of roles so many people play in the procurement process so that each person will be held to account for their own actions.
Indeed.
And we have got no problem as procurement people taking responsibility on issues that we have done ourselves.
Fantastic.
That's what we are praying for.
It's really great to have these conversations with you, and an hour runs out really quickly. Thanks to both of you, Jeremiah Nthusi and Moses Omondi, from the committees of the Kenya Institute of Supply Management. Thank you so much for being here this morning. It will be great to have conversations moving forward. In as much as an hour comes to an end quickly, so does a week. Thank you for joining in Kenya's biggest conversation from Monday till today. It's coming to the end, and I want to let you know that private retail pharmacies are important healthcare providers. They are often the first or only point of contact with the healthcare system. As such, they provide a unique channel through which HIV, COVID-19, and other public interventions can be delivered. The Kemri Wellcome Trust has carried out several studies in this area, and we are delighted to announce that we will be joined by Dr. Peter Mugo, a researcher from Kemri Wellcome Trust, at 8 a.m. this coming Tuesday for a deep dive on the importance of private retail pharmacies in healthcare. Join us then. We'll be back on Monday morning. It's now 10 o'clock.
Aseto. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has once again asked churches and mosques to lower their noise levels or they will be shut down. Via Twitter, Governor Sakaja has said that he plans to have talks with religious leaders about the new orders and the measures that will be taken against those who violate them. He has once again defended himself following the move to close some clubs in Nairobi, saying that his